3 away 0-0s in a row. Palace are on 2 in a row. I'll get the champagne ready just in case, Steve.
Boring record, but a brilliant team to watch these days, Crystal Palace. You will get every goal as it goes in England and Scotland over the course of the next couple of hours. We've got full commentary of Chelsea versus Manchester United at 5:30. But the teams are out at the Etihad. Our base is Manchester City at home in the Premier League against Brighton. And the former England goalkeeper Paul Robinson is with John Akers.
Thank you, Steve, and welcome to the Etihad. Crisis at Manchester City. They've gone a whole week without a goal. Good job, they've scored 4+ goals in 5 Premier League home games in a row. They've won the last 12 here. Bit of team news for you. Phil Foden has been given a rest. He's on the bench. There are fantasy football managers crying into their lunches this afternoon. Grealish, Laporte and Mahrez start, and Roberto De Zerbi, the Brighton manager, continues to search for his first win in charge. They have never won at City. They've just taken the photos in the centre circle at the moment, the mascots and Craig Pawson, the referee. Brighton are in crimson. It's so bright. There's no danger of them not spotting each other this afternoon, with Manchester City in their traditional pale blue. Paul Robinson, former England goalkeeper, Leeds, of course, Blackburn and Spurs. If you are the Robert Sanchez, the Brighton goalkeeper right now, what will you be thinking looking at Erling Harland and the rest of this Manchester City team facing you?
Well, it's always difficult coming here. You know the firepower that Manchester City have got. You know the quality they've got in the final third. And it's about your own performance from a goalkeeper's point of view here. He's playing in a team that aren't playing particularly well. They're searching for a result. They went to Old Trafford a couple of weeks ago and somehow got a 3-3 draw, and since then they haven't really turned up. They haven't scored, they haven't won a game. So it's a really difficult afternoon for Brighton, but who knows in this league.
We've seen one upset already today. What a win for Nottingham Forest against Liverpool. It will be Brighton with the kickoff here, kicking from my right to left as Blue Moon rings around the Etihad. Manchester City will be hoping to avoid an upset. As we're underway, Manchester City in second, looking to cut the gap at the top to Arsenal to a point with victory, while Brighton looking for their first win in a while. Ball's out of play for a Brighton throw, and Pep Guardiola in his green hoodie with his skin-tight jeans on collects the ball and gives it to the Brighton defender. Trossard playing at left wing-back today on the halfway line. I'll run you through the teams in just a moment as Dunk is in possession for Brighton. They've got the ball at the back, and Harland scampers after Sanchez in yellow, who aims a long high kick downfield towards Welbeck. Manchester City tidy up. It's quite a strong back pass towards Edison, but he collects all in purple and rolls it out into the left back spot. So City look like this. Edison in goal, the back four. Laporte, first start in the Premier League this season at right back, with Diaz, Akanji and Cancelo making up the back four. Rodri, Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, the three behind Jack Grealish, Riyad Mahrez, either side of Erling Haaland. Manchester City in a corner of sunlight on the far side. Mild here today, not even wearing a coat. Late October, 18 degrees. Manchester City keeping possession in their own half. Brighton, Sanchez in goal. They're playing a back three. Veltman, Dunk and Webster, the three centre-backs, with the wing-backs March and Trossard. Caicedo and McAllister sitting with Gross, Welbeck and Adam Lallana, unchanged from their previous match. Right, we've got a penalty early in League Two. It's at Stevenage. Sohail Sahi.
Northampton have scored, John. It's Stevenage 0, Northampton 1. The penalty came after 30 seconds. Lewis Apre was fouled. He's converted. Stevenage 0, Northampton 1.
Thank you, Sohail. Fastest goal service around as Manchester City are in possession and aim a long ball forward. A slip by Brighton defender, but Jack Grealish must have got a little piece of him there. It's a free kick to Brighton, 10 yards inside their own half on the right.
Yeah, two players coming together on the far side there, John. Brighton have started brightly, actually, as well as their kits brightly. They've started brightly. They played very open against Liverpool, and I think that was to their downfall. It allowed Liverpool chances to get in behind them. I think today they've looked to interact with Manchester City's defence higher up the field already and press Manchester City and not allow them possession.
Brighton are in possession, very deep in their own half, and Manchester City are going with the full court press. Trossard, right-footed, aims the ball inside, but only finds Rodri. Bit of space for Jack Grealish, 30 yards from goal. It's a really good toe-in for Brighton, and they might well be able to break here down the right-hand side. Veltman it was with the toe-in, gets it to Welbeck, but across comes Rodri, and he knocks it out of play. In fact, it was Cancelo, and it's a throw into Brighton on the halfway line. Bit of pushing and shoving there, Veltman and Cancelo, as Cancelo kicked the ball away. Brighton have the throw. 0-0. 5 Live Sport. It's John Akers and Paul Robinson. Throw-in taken by Brighton. They've got possession deep in their own half. We've had an early goal at Bramall Lane. Sheffield United, Lee Blakeman.
Norwich ahead, howler by the Sheffield United goalkeeper Adam Davies, took too long with the ball at his feet, charged down by Pukki, ricocheted in. Sheffield United 0, Norwich 1.
Oh, if it's anything like the game there last week, Lee's got a busy afternoon, the 3-3, as Brighton are in possession. It's pretty slow tempo to the game early on here, Paul.
Both sides allowing each other quite controlled possession. Robert Sanchez down there at the far end, on the right-hand end, where most teams generally play first half here at the Etihad, and I've had a few long first halves at that end, John. If City score early, it's a long half. You look at the scoreboard and you're 2 down after 10 minutes. It turns into a long half. Brighton have approached the game well. They've got controlled possession, they've tried to press City, and they've not come here just to shut up shop, which I think would have been to their detriment.
So we know Northampton ahead, first minute penalty. Crawley also lead Mansfield by 1-0 in League Two. Brighton are in possession, deep in their own half. No win yet for Roberto De Zerbi. It's the longest winless run of any Italian manager making his debut in the Premier League. There have been 13 of them. Harland gets his first touch to De Bruyne, 20 yards from goal, tries to roll in Mahrez on the right. Good defending coming across there was Webster, and it's out of play for a throw-in to Manchester City. Kevin De Bruyne wearing the rainbow armband. And City in possession in the centre circle inside their own half with Aymeric Laporte into the Manchester City starting lineup and trying to slide in Cancelo on the overlap down the left-hand side. But Brighton clear away, headed towards Danny Welbeck, who is chasing the ball down, and it's rolled back to Ederson. A warm welcome to our listeners on BBC World Service of this commentary game between Manchester City and Brighton, where we are in the very early stages, and it's 0-0. 5 minutes gone, no real chances for either team as yet. And I'm alongside former England goalkeeper Paul Robinson.
There's almost an air of expectancy here today, isn't there, John? You know, Manchester City have done something that they've not done for a while, gone 2 games without a win. They're playing a team that they would expect to beat, and the crowd are very, very quiet. There's almost an air of, go on then, entertain us.
Yeah, 21-game unbeaten Premier League run ended by Liverpool last week. Only lost consecutive games twice in the Premier League under Pep Guardiola. Orient lead at Carlisle in League 2. Archibald has scored there in the second minute as Ederson left-footed plays the ball towards Mahrez. Brighton deal with it comfortably. I was at the game against Liverpool, the 3-3, and they were very, very open, Brighton. They don't seem to be set up quite as open as that. Saying that, they've got 4 in a line here looking for a forward ball, and they've been able to find one of those. Lallana spreads the play to the left. Trossard on the corner of the penalty area, swings in across, headed away by Manchester City. Mahrez picks it up, will try and work the ball away, finds Grealish. He's still 15 yards inside his own half, but he's gobbled up the ground, and now he's still travelling midway inside the Brighton half. Gets it out on the left-hand side, cross from De Bruyne into the far post towards Mahrez, headed away. Manchester City with possession with Rodri. Brighton have got themselves back. They certainly committed numbers forward there when they had possession. And we've got a Brighton player, Danny Welbeck, who's getting some treatment, or he will be getting some treatment soon. Ederson's actually come to check he's okay. Just by the D inside the Manchester City half. Looks like he's maybe bleeding here.
I think there was a coming together when Trossard got the ball on the edge of the box, just crossed it in, and there was a coming together in the middle of the box there, and Welbeck's come off the worst. But that just shows you Brighton's worry, committing so many bodies forward. It shows you how City can turn defence into attack so quickly with Grealish on the break.
Still down, getting some treatment here. We've had a goal at Rangers, Connie McLaughlin.
And it's for the visitors, it's for Livingston. It was Joel Newbley who actually scored against Rangers in the first game of the season. He's done it again this afternoon. He just sauntered through the Rangers defence and tapped it into the back of the net past Alan McGregor. But a shock round Ibrox at the moment. It's Rangers 0, Livingston 1.
Welbeck still getting some treatment here down on the deck. No goals this season. His favourite sandwiches are tuna mayo. And let's get a quick update from Blackburn Rovers, Birmingham City. Aaron Paul.
Hey, so am I, John, so am I. Blackburn 0, Birmingham City 0. A fantastic chance for the visitors, looking sharp on the counter-attack. Scott Hogan making a great run down the channel. He fed the reverse pass into Tahith Chong, who shot for the far corner, hit the foot of the post, past Kaminsky and bobbled away. Blackburn 0, Birmingham 0.
Aberdeen lead Motherwell by 1-0.
Was that stat, John, by any chance, that you promised a 9-year-old that you unashamedly celebrated beating him in a quiz this morning, that you might have had to get in?
I'm not allowed to reference it. It's part of the rules. All I'll say is you must listen to Patrick Kilty's show 9 till 11 Saturday mornings. So Danny Welbeck is off the pitch at the moment, but I think he's going to come back on. I think he's okay after receiving a good sort of 3 minutes of treatment, and the game is back underway with Welbeck off the pitch. Now he's introduced, and Manchester City come forward down the left-hand side with Aymeric Laporte. Now it's Grealish, level with the 18-yard box left-hand side. He's got 2 players with him, stands on the ball. He's deciding on his pass and has to go back under some pressure from Brighton. Now Manchester City in possession with Akanji, who rolls it forward, De Bruyne. And now Mahrez. It's all over in the T20 World Cup cricket. Adam Mountford.
England win by 5 wickets, but only 10 balls to spare. Hugely impressive with the ball in the field. Some world-class catches from Butler, Livingston and Rashid, worth looking at the BBC Sport website and app. But a stuttering run chase, only Livingston looking fluid. But England overall pleased to avoid a shock in a tournament full of surprises. They win by 5 wickets.
Peterborough leading at Oxford in League One by 1-0. Accrington leading Bolton 1-0. And you're up to date on 5 Live Sports. Free kick for Brighton. It's just on the edge of their own D. Let's get an update from Goodison. John Bennett.
It's Everton 0, Crystal Palace 0. No chances, but a good tempo around this game. The wide players, Gray and Gordon, looking lively for Everton. Gareth Southgate is here. Good chance for the likes of Calvert-Lewin and Gahey to impress. It's 0-0.
Manchester City in possession. Lip of the centre circle inside their own half. Strong challenge. And Lallana felt like he won the ball there, but Manchester City have the free kick in the centre circle in their own half. Brighton doing well so far just to keep them under wraps here, Manchester City.
Closing down quickly, Brian. They're setting traps for Manchester City. They're allowing them control possession deep in their own half, but when they get into a certain area, there's Lallana, Solly March, Welbeck. They set the traps and they press, and they're setting the high line as a back four and trying to put the pressure on Manchester City high up.
Edison in possession for City, under no pressure, midway inside his own half. Newport 1, Colchester 0. In League 2, he's given it away, Henderson, under no pressure. And here's a shot from distance from Welbeck, but he's got underneath it and it's over the crossbar. What was he thinking, Paul Robinson?
Well, it looks good when it works. I mean, Edison gets the ball and he comes out in the position where you'd expect a left centre-half to be. So imagine your goalkeeper stood where you want your left centre-half, and you've got Diaz on the right of him playing as another centre-half. Edison plays the ball out to the left back to Cancelo, but he gets it wrong. Welbeck intercepts it, and it's all well and good, but then Edison stood in the left centre-half position. He has to get back. Welbeck has an open goal, and unfortunately for him, he puts it over the bar. But took a risk there, Edison. He's doing it again.
Just hear a little bit of frustration from the home crowd, and that singing you can hear in the background is the pocket of Brighton fans away to my right. Over the 3 tiers, you can tell, because some of them are wearing that crimson away kit, as Manchester City in possession deep in their own half. Clear the ball away. Brighton have picked up possession on halfway. Goal at Goodison. John Bennett.
For Dominic Calvert-Lewin, only his second start of the season in front of Gareth Southgate. Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0. Nice ball into him in the box, turned really well, and then a side foot finish across the goalkeeper into the net. Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0.
Brighton in possession. Trossard. Edge of the penalty area, chip ball in, only partially headed clear by Manchester City. De Bruyne rises with Caicedo in midfield. Ball cleared away, Rodri brings it down. He's dispossessed. This is good possession for Brighton. They've got 5 forward here in this attack, and they're in possession with Solly March, level with the penalty area on the right-hand side. Goes back to Veltman. Patientness from Brighton. Little toe in from Manchester City. But Brighton still have possession, but it's given away. A lofted pass forward from Brighton, and Rodri has a look around and can only find Edison in his own 6-yard box. Under pressure from Danny Welbeck, but he manages to get his clearance away, and now Mahrez picks up the ball and spreads the play to Grealish, and now this is where Manchester City might break. Forward comes Grealish to the edge of the penalty area. On the overlap, here comes the cross. It's behind for a corner. Let's go to QPR versus Wigan. Flo Pollock.
The league leaders lead QPR 1, Wigan 0. Came from a corner, and Sam Field was there to volley it into the back of the net. QPR 1, Wigan 0.
Well, the manager there turning down Wolves this week. They lead. Fastest goal service around. 5 Live Sport. Corner for Manchester City. Swung into the near post. Cleared away at the near post by Brighton. They've got no outlet though. They've played an outlet ball to the halfway line, but it's going to be comfortable for Cancelo to collect. And now with De Bruyne hugging the left-hand touchline. Finding Bernardo Silva. Little back heel to Grealish. Now Bernardo Silva again. Harland's waiting in the middle here for City. Another cross. Carbon copy. Another corner for City.
Very difficult when you sit that deep, John, when you're an away side here defending. You bring everybody back behind the ball, but you've got no out ball. We saw there with Brighton, they defended the corner well, they got decent possession. City were closing them down. They had no option other than to play the ball up to an empty Manchester City half, basically kicking the ball into space and trying to gain some ground up the field.
Corner going to be taken by Kevin De Bruyne. 5 in the Brighton penalty area for City, and it comes high towards the penalty spot, headed away only as far as Bernardo Silva, 25 yards from goal. Harland puts in a left foot cross, little flicked header from Brighton, and they should be able to clear through Solly March on the far side on the right. He's come back inside, and Veltman will right-footed clear long towards halfway. Ruben Diaz wins the header. Bit of space for De Bruyne midway inside the Brighton half on the left.
takes on his man, puts in a cross, but there's no one there at the far post, and it dribbles out for a Brighton goal kick. It's 0-0 on 5 Live Sport.
First real bit of sustained City pressure. They've kind of camped in the Brighton half, not letting them out. De Bruyne, Grealish down the left-hand side, ball to the far side. Harland got hold of it well, whipped in a decent cross where you wouldn't expect him. You'd want him on the end of a ball like that in the box.
League 2, Swindon 1, Hartlepool 0, and Crawley have doubled their lead. It's Crawley 2, Mansfield 0. Let's go into League 1. Bristol Rovers versus Plymouth Argyle. Laura Kenyon.
Bristol Rovers 0, Plymouth 1. The league leaders with the early breakthrough. Finn Azaz, the Aston Villa loanee, with the goal, a curling effort that found the top corner, and it's Bristol Rovers 0, Plymouth 1.
Plymouth going really well under Stephen Schumacher, top of League 1 in that West Country derby, as Brighton are in possession deep in their own half with Veltman, who's under some pressure from Grealish, and he's had to put the ball out for a throw midway inside the Brighton half on the right hand side. City are in possession. 15 minutes of the game gone, 0-0. We've had another goal at Bramall Lane. Lee Blakeman.
Another one for Norwich. They're 2 up. This time a long ball over the top. Pookie got on the end of it, buried it into the bottom corner. Norwich and Pookie have 2. Sheffield United 0, Norwich 2.
Wow. Well, there's certainly been goals at Bramall Lane this season. I don't expect that to be the end of it. 5 Live in the World Service, bringing you live commentary of Manchester City versus Brighton. No goals. Harland in possession. He's had to come deep to get the ball. Shows all his strength. Brighton players bouncing off him.
Pascal Gross there tried to challenge him. He was like running into a brick wall. Harland just stood his ground.
22 he is.
He's immense, isn't he? He's some talent, isn't he? I mean, he's online to break all kinds of world records. When can you stop waxing lyrical about him? We've used every phrase possible to describe him. He's an outstanding talent, isn't he?
And he's got a box here, which we can see from here. It's the one pretty much right opposite us on the end. And it is packed with family and friends today. It's kind of a box and a half he's got up there, Paul, isn't it? Oh, we've got a goal at Sunderland. Shoujo.
Sunderland 1, Burnley 0. It is 20-year-old on loan from Manchester United, Amad Diallo, with the goal. His first goal for Sunderland, played in by Elliot Embleton. Cool left foot finish. Sunderland 1, Burnley 0.
Crewe have taken the lead in League 2. Crewe 1, Doncaster Rovers 0. Manchester City in possession with Grealish, 5 yards inside his own half. Again he's on the run, Grealish, and he's eating up the ground once more. Grealish towards the edge of the penalty area. On the overlap he's got Cancelo. Can they find a cross here? Manchester City, they're into the penalty area. In comes the cross, cleared away by Lewis Dunk, the captain for Brighton. High ball away from Brighton, picked up again by City. We've got a goal at Ewood Park. Aaron Paul.
Blackburn 1, Birmingham 0. This is a brilliant goal from Blackburn. Work down the right-hand side. Tyler Morton with the drilled cross across the face of goal. And there was Sam Gallagher to lash home. Blackburn 1, Birmingham 0.
Carlisle 1, Leyton Orient 1 in League 2. And Mansfield have got one back. Crawley 2, Mansfield 1. And the ball is out of play from Manchester City's throw, which they take, and Diaz rolls it to Akanji. Manchester City don't lose 2 in a row very often, and they're goal scoring here this season. First team since Wolves in 1959 to score 3 minimum in 9 consecutive top flight home matches. It really is quite something. Brighton under De Zerbi have been pretty tight, but they failed to score since they drew 3-3 at Liverpool just a couple of weeks ago, as Welbeck picks up possession. Looked like a foul. That no free kick. He went down under a challenge from De Bruyne, but the referee Craig Pawson was right on top of it. And now here's Grealish, 35 yards from goal. Every Brighton player seems to be between him and the goal at the moment. Akanji will roll it out on the right to Mahrez. He's got a one-on-one situation here. He's near the corner flag, rolls it back to Akanji, who goes inside to Rodri, patient from Manchester City. Cancelo, 15 yards inside the Brighton half. Forest Green 0, Portsmouth 1. Here's Bruno in towards Harland, who goes down under a challenge from the goalkeeper. Harland says this is a penalty. Craig Pawson again was right on top of it. We'll have to wait and see how much contact there was between Harland and the goalkeeper, and whether he was on the way down already.
He wants a penalty here, Harland. This is the first time City have got in behind Brighton. De Bruyne does really well, gets to the byline, cuts it back, and Harland gets there just in front. He has a touch and it's going out of play, but as he puts the ball out of play, he then goes over the goalkeeper's foot. There's contact. You can see why Harland wants a penalty, but he's not in control of the ball.
So they are going to check this VAR. There's definitely contact. Sanchez right studs of his boot connect with the ankle of Harland, but goal kick, I think, is the decision from the VAR, no penalty.
I think the reason that they've come to that decision, John, is because Harland's touch is taking it out of play. So as the goalkeeper's come into contact with Harland, the ball's actually going over the dead ball line.
Leyton Orient have taken the lead at Carlisle. Carlisle 1, Leyton Orient 2, and Swindon are now 2-0 up against Hartlepool in League 2. Luke Jeffcott, as the goal kick is aimed long from Brighton. City win possession. De Bruyne has gone down here and looks hurt in the centre circle, 5 yards inside the Brighton half. He's going to get some treatment here. We've got a goal at Sunderland. Shojo Saka.
Another one for the home side. Sunderland 2, Burnley 0. Cross came in. Burnley failed to clear. Fell to Dan Neil, who slotted home quite comfortably. Sunderland 2, Burnley 0.
Free kick for Manchester City here. 5 Live Sport on the World Service.
Has sometimes put the ball in the 6-yard box and he's played it long into Welbeck, and they're trying to mix it up a little bit just to disrupt City.
Rodri in possession deep in his own half for Manchester City. Finds Bernardo Silva, who's come very deep. Pep Guardiola at the moment standing with his hands on his hips on the edge of his technical area. Long ball through the middle. Harland stolen in, uses his strength. Empty net goal. Erling Harland again. 16 for the season. When he was running through, it's like watching an under-14s playing under-9s. Brighton players bouncing off him, left, right and centre, so quick, and City lead Brighton by 1-0.
Wow, we said we'd run out of superlatives for this man. It was one of the most simple goals that you'll see Manchester City score. Ederson very rarely kicks it long. He's in full, comfortable, controlled possession, Ederson on the edge of his box. Brighton are all set. Ederson decides to kick a long ball. It goes all the way down the length of the pitch through the Brighton defence. Webster ends up one-on-one with Harland, shoulder to shoulder. Harland just nudges him as though he's not there. The goalkeeper Sanchez comes out, completely misses it. Harland goes shoulder to shoulder with Webster. Webster hits the floor. Harland puts it into an empty net.
They're going to check it. Brighton are fuming.
Brighton are moaning, but it does look like shoulder to shoulder.
Let's see whether we get a check here. So Harland chests it down, takes the goalkeeper out of play. It's whether Harland's left arm comes and pushes. I mean, the referee was right on top of it, and the goal stands. It was just pure strength from Erling Haaland. The VAR says no obvious error. Harland, with his easiest finish of the season, just knocks it into an empty net. Sanchez has a goalkeeper pull. He obviously makes a mistake there. He shouldn't have come.
He's made the wrong decision. Yeah, he's misjudged. His depth perception was completely wrong there. He shouldn't have come out. But from another goalkeeper's point of view, yet another assist for Ederson.
Let's go to Loftus Road. Flo Pollock.
We're going to have it equalised. It came from a set piece. QPR couldn't clear their lines and it fell nicely for Nathan Broadhead to volley it into the back of the net. It's QPR 1, Wigan 1.
Ball forward towards Danny Welbeck. Will roll through towards Ederson. Kilmarnock 1, Ross County 0 in the Scottish Premiership. And Millwall 0, West Bromwich Albion 1. John Swift has scored there for West Bromwich Albion. And here Manchester City lead Brighton by 1-0, and that's how quickly it can change. They look so solid, Brighton. They'd made such a good start here, and you make one mistake.
To put the picture into words, it's that run that we see from Harland week in and week out. That straight run that seems to cause defences so many problems, puts him through one-on-one between defender and goalkeeper, uses his strength. Another goal.
Let's get an update from Everton Palace with John Bennett.
It's Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0. The Everton fans loving this performance. They've been superb. Frank Lampard's side. Dominic Calvert-Lewin with the only goal, but Anthony Gordon has just come close. Shot from outside the box, just over the bar. Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0.
Brighton in possession with Dunk. He rolls it back to his goalkeeper Sanchez, and there's Erling Haaland over his shoulder, and this is a good press from City. Dunk has got it by the byline, and it was Kevin De Bruyne pressing. He was fine after that injury, took a little knock, and it's going to be a goal kick for Brighton after he charges down Dunk's clearance.
Be interesting to see what Brighton do now, because as an away team you come here and you set up not to concede in the first 20 minutes. Whether the manager's got a plan B or he keeps doing what he's been doing. He's been pushing the two wing-backs on to try and cause City a problem, but City have countered that and now getting in behind them.
The ball is with Ederson deep in the Manchester City half. Flo Pollock's busy. Another goal at QPR.
Yeah, that's right. QPR have taken the lead again, and again it came from a corner, and it was a header by the big centre-half, Leon Balogun. It's QPR 2, Wigan 1.
Manchester City in possession, deep in their own half, leading by a goal to nil. Erling Haaland's goal timed on 22 minutes. And we could see the private box that he's got here for friends and family up on their feet and enjoying it. That's his 19th goal involvement this season, which is extraordinary. The fewest to 20 goal involvements in the Premier League is 18 matches, and that's Kevin Phillips and Bruno Fernandes. That just puts into perspective, and we're on game 11 for Erling Haaland. As here's Mahrez, midway inside the Brighton half, hugging the right touchline, drifting inside on his left foot. Gives it to Rodri, who stands on the ball, turns, goes back inside to Ruben Diaz, who's inside the centre circle. Akanji into De Bruyne's feet. Good challenge by Caicedo, and the ball rolls out for a throw-in, and it's a Brighton throw, 10 yards inside their own half on the left. Let's get news then of that goal I mentioned at Millwall. Chris Temple.
Yeah, the pantomime villain here, John, is Jed Wallace, who turned down a new deal at Millwall to sign for West Brom over the summer. It was his assist. He pulled the ball back for the advancing John Swift, who tucked it in via a slight deflection. The West Brom fans haven't had much to shout about this season, but they're singing Jed Wallace, he's too good for you. Millwall 0, West Brom 1.
Thank you, Chris. Meanwhile, Erling Haaland goes on a little run, and Caicedo just hacks him down, tries to stop him any which way he can, and Caicedo for Brighton's picked up a yellow card.
He's got booked for his troubles. That could be a long afternoon for him, having to chase Erling Haaland the wrong way. Haaland there again shows his quality. I mean, he picks up the ball halfway in Brighton's half, and he just runs straight for goal. He's got nothing else on his mind other than attacking the edge of the box and trying to get an opportunity on goal. City have now got a free kick in a really dangerous position.
This is 30 yards out. It's a little dink ball in towards Erling Haaland, but Caicedo, or is it Welbeck, has got a foot to it there. Welbeck defended that well. Mahrez gets a little toe in, aims back into the penalty area, but Brighton are there, and so's Kevin De Bruyne, who picks up possession, running towards the corner flag on the right. Deflected low dribbling cross is collected comfortably by Sanchez, all in yellow. So Sanchez in goal, 4 clean sheets this season. Right, let's go to the rugby, shall we? Exeter Chiefs versus Saracens. Gareth Lewis.
Yeah, first point, long-range penalty for Henry Slade from Exeter, who are completely dominant. Saracens hanging on, even managing down to 14 men with captain Owen Farrell in the sin bin. Oh, and from nowhere, Saracens have scored. Their first attack, try in the far corner for Saracens. Saracens now lead by 5 points to 3.
Good timing, thank you, Gareth. A reminder earlier, Nottingham Forest beat Liverpool by a goal to nil, with Brighton in possession on the lip of the centre circle, coming forward. First time they've attacked in a good 10 minutes. They've got possession level with the penalty area on the left. It's with Pascal Gross, who turns onto his right foot. Brighton with some territory here, and it's been rare in this match so far for them. Adam Webster plays the ball forward into the feet of Welbeck, who goes back to Caicedo. Now Gross on the left-hand side. He's got 3 in the penalty area, goes short to Trossard. Trossard goes back to Gross. Short passes, 30 yards from the Manchester City goal at the moment, but this is patient build-up by Brighton. Veltman rolls it out to the right-hand side. Solly March picks it up, level with the 18-yard box. Still 3 weight in the middle for a cross for Brighton, who are yet to really threaten Ederson in the Manchester City goal. Webster, Trossard, patient, slow build-up. Red card in League 2 for Brandon Comley for Walsall, as Brighton still in slow possession here at the Etihad. Let's go back to Loftus Road. Flo Pollock.
QPR still lead Wigan 2 goals to 1, but Wigan did have the ball in the back of the net, was ruled out for a handball in the build-up. End-to-end game this though, 28 minutes played. It's QPR 2, Wigan 1.
Sounds like some game as well. Crawley 2, Mansfield 2 in League 2. Crawley were 2-0 up in that game. The ball is in the Manchester City penalty area with Ruben Diaz, who brings the ball out.
and has a look up, has a look at his options. Bernardo Silva offers himself 15 yards inside the Brighton half, collects it, nice spin and turn away, and gives it back to Diaz. Movement ahead of him, Harland down the left-hand side, who rises for a header, doesn't get to it, but they have picked up possession. And now Harland chases after the ball near the byline here. Brighton mop up, get the ball to Sanchez. They're under pressure though, getting the ball out of their own half. And McAllister's robbed of the ball by Grealish. Grealish into the penalty area towards Harland, flicks it up in the air. Grealish goes down, shouts for a penalty from the supporters. He missed his left foot volley, and the ball is out and into the hands of Sanchez. And they'll have a little look at this. Grealish is still down, looks in pain. I'm not sure there was enough in it for a penalty.
He did really well there, Grealish, in midfield. Robbed McAllister and then got the ball back himself. The ball came to him in the air and he's waiting for it to drop. Just as he goes to strike it, Joel Veltman makes contact with him. He plays a 1-2 with Harland. The ball goes up in the air and the ball just doesn't drop quick enough for Grealish. And as he's waiting for him to drop, Veltman manages to get the clearance and Grealish ends up kicking Veltman. Again, I think they'll check, but I don't think there'll be a penalty.
Exeter 0, Fleetwood 1 in League One. Carlos Mendes Gomez. So we've got a break in play here. Let's go back to Goodison and to John Bennett.
Yeah, it's taken about half an hour, but Crystal Palace are starting to get into this game. Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0. Zaha's had a shot straight at the goalkeeper. Anderson's had a header straight at the goalkeeper, but Everton are the better side. They lead by 1-0.
Half an hour gone. Manchester City 1, Brighton 0. Harland in the 22nd minute. 5 Live Sport and BBC World Service. Swindon 2, Hartlepool 1 in League 2. And the goal kick is taken, and Jack Grealish is back up on his feet and back on the pitch, and Brighton are in possession deep in their own half with Caicedo, who's got that yellow card. Kevin De Bruyne is working really hard to put pressure on Brighton. He's put pressure on Sanchez. Fair play to Brighton, playing out from the back, but they have given the ball away. Here comes City down the left, little ball in towards De Bruyne and Harland, and De Bruyne again, and Brighton get a foot in and manage to clear away, and perhaps they could break now with Trossard, who's got a bit of room on the halfway line left-hand side, but he rather rushed his ball forward towards Caicedo, and it's been intercepted by Mahrez with lovely skill near halfway to make some space and find Bernardo Silva running away down the right-hand side. Ball back to De Bruyne, Grealish in space, De Bruyne again, good save, or a block. It might have been a block, you know, by Lewis Dunk. That's brilliant. What brilliant play. Best move of the match from Manchester City, but a hero block from the Brighton captain.
Manchester City at their absolute best, and it starts with Mahrez halfway into the Brighton half, nutmegs the Lana and gets away, slots the ball in down this right hand side. Bernardo Silva pulls it back to the edge of the box. You think De Bruyne is going to hit it. He takes his first touch and he reverses it to the left to Grealish. You think then Grealish is going to hit it, who then in turn reverses it back to De Bruyne on the edge of the box, and it ends up being a fantastic block by Dunk, a goal-saving block. Corner for Manchester City. Exeter have equalised. Exeter 1, Fleetwood 1. It's going to be Mahrez left-footed, in it comes. Header won by Rodri, but it's wide of the goalkeeper's right-hand post, and it's a goal kick for Brighton. Peterborough 2-0 up in League One at Oxford United. Update from Goodison Park. It's Everton versus Crystal Palace. John Bennett.
Yeah, 1-0 to Everton. Break in play here. Nasty clash of heads between Conor Cody and Luka Milivojevic. Thankfully, they're both on their feet. They're going to come back on. Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0.
Same scoreline here. Manchester City 1, Brighton 0. Manchester City, after that goal, have improved, I think, Paul, and they look even more in control. They look strong, but you've got to give Brighton credit, because at the time where they were vulnerable, you thought that City could go on and get more. They've actually stuck to the way that they're playing. They've defended well. The last move you have to watch tonight on Match of the Day. What a fantastic move that was by Manchester City. 2 or 3 incidents of skill there that, you know, you can't get all at the same time, how they can do that. But Brighton, they've got possession, they've got controlled possession, and they haven't just rolled over and let this City side beat them. They've pushed the 2 full-backs on, but City are looking stronger and stronger, and they're pressing higher and higher up the field, which is one clue that City fancy this. Trouble is with City, you never know whether it's going to make the highlights. They've only got a certain amount of time on Match of the Day. It depends how many goals are scored in this game with Brighton attacking, but the offside flag is up. Match of the Day, by the way, tonight, BBC One from 10:30. Gary Lineker, Danny Murphy and Martin Keogh. And with the former England goalkeeper Paul Robinson, and Manchester City are in possession with Ederson, who's got it by the penalty spot and will dribble it out to the edge of his penalty area as Brighton pick up man for man inside the City half. Haven't gone quite as open as they were at Liverpool, but they certainly give you chances, Brighton, but Roberto De Zerbi, he has a go, and they've picked up a pocket of space here in between the lines with Adam Lallana, and that's a nice ball out onto the right-hand side, and it's with Solly March. Back inside, still in possession, Trossard, he's got some space here, Leandro Trossard works it onto his right foot, shot blocked by the Manchester City defender Akanji, only as far as Caicedo, high feet though, as McAllister throws the ball down in frustration for Brighton, doesn't pick up a yellow for it, and it's a Manchester City free kick midway inside their own half.
Encouraging signs from Brighton. Pascal Gross and Trossard have been pushed on, and that counter-attack's what City are doing. Great skill from Trossard, twists and turns in the box, just doesn't manage to get his shot away. What De Zerbi's doing when City are in possession, he's pushing the front three and the two wing-backs on. So in effect, they're putting 5 players out of the game, which is how City scored with a long ball through from Ederson. They didn't have enough to defend. It's a risk he's taking, but he's trying to put the pressure on City higher up the field.
They've had a couple of attempts at goal so far in this game. Danny Welbeck probably with their best chance when Ederson was out of position, and he tried to flight it over him, but flighted it over the crossbar. 56 attempts they've had at goal, Brighton, since they scored 3 at Anfield in that 3-3 draw, as Leandro Trossard fails to control, and it's a Manchester City throw midway inside their own half on the right-hand side.
It's been a big problem for them, Brighton, is scoring goals. The amount of times that I've commentated on games, that I've covered games, and I've said how well Brighton have played, how much possession they've had, how many chances they've created, but they haven't scored goals, and it's been a real issue for them.
You're not hot in your coat and hoodie combo?
No, I thought I was looking quite cool.
Well, you do look cool.
Okay?
You always look cool, mate. You always look cool. I just can't believe how warm it is for October. Long ball forward from Brighton. Manchester City collect, but Brighton have won the ball back. Trossard with a little back heel. They're in possession still. It's opened up for Welbeck into the penalty area. It's Gross, chops it back across, and Bernardo Silva is there to tidy up and to knock the ball behind. Let's go into League Two. Stevenage versus Northampton. Sohail Sahi.
Stevenage have equalised. It's 1 apiece. It was given away in midfield. Danny Rose picked it up, run away from the arc of the centre circle, kept his balance well, John, and he's equalised. Stevenage 1, Northampton 1.
Corner for Brighton on the left-hand side. This is the kind of situation where if they get a chance, they've got to take it, with the score at 1-0 to Manchester City. Barrow lead at Gillingham in League Two. One arm in the air from Gross, and it comes right-footed to the near post. Welbeck gets a good flick on it, and it's only just over the crossbar and out for a goal kick to Manchester City, but that wasn't a bad effort.
No, great delivery in, and Brighton are not going to have that many opportunities this afternoon, so they've obviously worked on their set plays. Great ball into the near post, and Welbeck wins the ball, and it just drops over Edison's far post. I don't think he was getting there if it was on target. You missed the opportunity anyway, didn't you? Cool enough for radio, yeah?
Yeah, I have missed it. You're absolutely right. I feel disappointed with myself there. Listen, we have to do social media and all sorts these days. At 5 Live Sport, by the way, on Twitter. Give us a follow, and you can follow this on BBC Sounds. Loads of extra stuff as well on there, like the Football Daily podcast, Fantasy 606. Really good listen if you're into your fantasy football, as there's an offside flag up here against Brighton. Right, let's go racing. It's the last Group 1 race of the season at Doncaster. John Hunt.
John, good afternoon to you and welcome to Doncaster for this huge race. As you say, the last Group 1 of the entire flat racing season. And the early developments here see the field of 8 split into 2. There are 3 runners, including the Aidan O'Brien pair, Salt Lake City and Auguste Rodin, who have come up the near side rail. And going with those 2 is the second favourite and Frankie Dettori ridden Epictetus. So those 3 have all come over towards the near side running rail as they approach the halfway stage. The other group of runners, 5 of them clustered over towards the far side running rail, with Stormbuster leading up there from Holloway Boy. Also well up with the pace is Dancing Magic, and Dancing Magic is also pursued by the likes of King of Steel, who was slow to get going, and the rank outsider Captain Versba is also in that group over on the far side. Now Holloway Boy is doing best of the group on the far side. The 3 down the near side are headed now by Auguste Rodin, who has come through chased by Epictetus, and it looks looks as though Salt Lake City has dropped away tamely. Holloway Boy now drifting dramatically up the near side running rail, trying to join Auguste Rodin, and this now the group that have it down the near side, and Auguste Rodin is now powering on. Epictetus moves into second place late in the day, followed by a weakening Holloway Boy. This all taking place on heavy ground, but you cannot keep Aidan O'Brien out of the headlines when it comes to this race. It's a hugely important race for the Classics next year, and Aidan O'Brien has just won it for a record 11th time, with Auguste Rodin, the favourite, in the hands of Ryan Moore. Too good for Epictetus and Holloway Boy and the others, and that draws an end to the British flat racing season.
Thank you, John. John Hunt at Doncaster for us here. Manchester City have had claims for a penalty waved away. Bernardo Silva went down, and they are going to have a look now at this. Paul Robinson is with me.
Yeah, I think they're going to get a penalty, John. It was Bernardo Silva. The ball came over his shoulder into the box, and he's clearly waiting for the ball to drop. And as he's waiting for the ball to drop, Pascal Gross puts both of his hands into his back. And as he does that, he falls over, but he falls over Lewis Dunk. Lewis Dunk puts his foot out to try and connect with the ball, but he actually, with Pascal Gross pushing Bernardo Silva, he pushes him into a foul. Manchester City are going to get a penalty here.
Craig Pawson's gone to the monitor, and what that normally means is penalty. Bernardo Silva taking a tumble, as Paul said, the arms into the back from Gross. Carlisle are down to 10 men. Ryan Edmondson has been sent off. Carlisle 1, Hartlepool 2. Harrogate have taken the lead against Tranmere in League 2. Still looking. Craig Pawson, whistle to his lips, draws the rectangle and points to the penalty spot. Penalty for Manchester City. Paul Robinson, you're absolutely right.
He had no option. There was 2 occasions where he could have given the penalty. He could have given a penalty for the initial contact, the push in the back from Pascal Gross, but when that was instigated on the back of Bernardo Silva, Lewis Dunk fouled him. So there was 2 incidences that he could have given the penalty for. Absolutely the correct decision, but it just took too long to get there.
Morecambe are leading Barnsley by a goal to 0, and Erling Harland has got the ball under his arm. Lewis Dunk, the Brighton captain, still arguing with Craig Pawson, and Robert Sanchez is also there having his say. They are not happy here, Brighton, but the penalty's been given, the check's been made. The Tunnel Club in their padded seats all stand to watch this penalty, which is going to be taken by Erling Harland. The referee and Robert Sanchez are still having it out here on the penalty spot. I doubt Erling Harland will be phased. Millwall 1, West Brom 1 in the Championship, and St Mirren in the Scottish Premiership have taken the lead by a goal to 0 against Dundee United, and Wimbledon lead Rochdale by a goal to 0 in League 2. So Erling Haaland's about to put the ball on the spot.
A lot of players taking penalties, and quite often you do that as a goalkeeper and defenders. You try and waste time and you try and get into the head of the striker who's taken the penalty. But this guy, I don't think it phases him.
We're about to find out. He couldn't put himself on another home Premier League hat-trick after just 11 games of the season, could he? I reckon he could. He backs away Erling Haaland, lines up on his left foot. Here he comes and scores! It's past Sanchez before he can even move. This boy is something else. 22 years of age, 17 Premier League goals in 11 games. Take a bow, Erling Haaland. Manchester City 2, Brighton 0. It just doesn't seem fair.
Was it ever in doubt? He took as long as he wanted over the penalty. With his left foot, he whipped it hard and low across Sanchez. Sanchez went the right way, but before the time he even had a chance to get a dive off, the ball hit the back of the net. It was never a question. Fantastic penalty.
How many can he score?
More than anybody else has done in history, I suspect, in the Premier League.
He is unbelievable. Wow. Let's get news of that goal at Millwall at the Den. Chris Temple.
Yes, informed Millwall back on terms through Callum Styles. A Vogelsang free kick from the left side fell loose in the box, and a calm swivel and finish for Styles' first Millwall goal. That after Jeb Wallace had missed a good chance to make it 2-0 to West Brom, but it's back to 1-1 here.
MK Dons 0, Wycombe 1. Nick Freeman has scored for Wycombe. We've got a goal at Blackburn now as Brighton take the kickoff. Aaron Paul.
Blackburn 2, Birmingham 0. He's one of their own. Adam Wharton scores his first goal in senior men's football. He jinked in and out and fired a left-footed shot into the bottom corner past John Ruddy. Blackburn 2, Birmingham 0.
I think, John, with Erling Harland, I think it's not how many he can score. I think you look at the chances that City create. He can score as many chances as they create for him. You look at the Champions League, the Real Madrid, the City game against Real Madrid, the chances they had in that game. If Erling Harland was playing that game, it could have been such a different outcome. When he's playing with the likes of Foden, Grealish, De Bruyne, all the assists that he's going to be provided with, he's got no problem scoring the goals, and he will do.
I mean, he's got 3 hat-tricks here in the Premier League already, and we could have an hour to play.
And bearing in mind his manager took him off at half-time when he was on another one.
I don't think he'd be too happy. I mean, he's, apart from when the ball has been about, I mean, it doesn't even look like he's out of second gear, Erling Harland. 2-0 Manchester City, both goals from Erling Harland. The first fastest goal service around on 5 Live and BBC World Service. This is an exhibition of forward play at the moment from Erling Harland. We've got 3 minutes of added time at the end of the first half. I thought it might be more than that, the delays we've had. Brighton clear the ball away with a volley. How can Brighton now respond? What do? They've got to get to the break at 2-0. First and foremost.
Yeah, they have to. They have to get in at half-time, and the manager has to regroup. And Erling Haaland's doing a great job of advertising our fastest goal service around, because he's the perfect example of them.
They're just all his. That's the thing. He's now scored 3 more goals than Brighton as a team this season. It's amazing. Ederson is in possession for Manchester City inside his own penalty area. You can just hear the murmurings around the Etihad. Let's get an update rather from the expert Gareth Lewis. Exeter Chiefs versus Saracens.
Expert Exeter, yeah, all the same, isn't it? 10-all at half-time. Exeter were in front for about a minute. A penalty try after Mako Vanapola pulled down a rolling ball, but Elliot Daly on the stroke of half-time with a penalty to make it leaders Saracens 10, Exeter 10.
Rodri in possession for Manchester City. Good challenge though in midfield, and Brighton have won some possession. Could they get one back? Trossard, edge of the penalty area, left-hand side, going to the byline, dinks it back across, but Ederson watched it well and plucked it out in front of Danny Welbeck, and the ball's rolled out to Kevin De Bruyne, and they've got a 3-on-3 here, Manchester City. Oh, and look who it is. It's Erling Haaland bearing down on goal, but he's challenged by Veltman, who got a crucial toe in, because he just looked like he was winding up to pull the trigger, and he looks absolutely furious with himself, Erling Haaland. Furious. He thinks he should have had a hat-trick.
He probably should have done in the form that he's in, but it just shows you with Brighton committing so many bodies forward. Again, Brighton haven't been without the chances this half. They're in good possession. Trossard's looked dangerous at times when he got the ball. They conceded possession to Ederson, but one throw straight through the middle of the field cut out 6 of their press.
Manchester City, we are closing in on half-time. We'll get you around all the grounds at half-time, update you with all the other sport as well that's happening today with Steve Crossman, as Ederson is under a bit of pressure here from Danny Welbeck, who puts in a good sprint, and yes, he does force the error from Ederson. Really good work from Danny Welbeck, who's never scored against Manchester City, the former Manchester United man, and has had 23 efforts at goal this season without scoring. That's the most of anyone in the Premier League, as Brighton are in possession near halfway. Goal at Bristol Rovers in League One, Laura Kenyon.
Bristol Rovers 0, Plymouth 2. The league leaders double their lead on the stroke of half-time. Adam Randall with a sublime strike, a long-range effort. Bristol Rovers far from outclassed, but Plymouth clinical. They lead by 2-0.
Talking of clinical, here's Erling Haaland, finds Mahrez. Mahrez has got loads of time at the byline. 3 in the penalty area here for City, but he's tried with jinking feet to go round the defender, and there goes the half-time whistle from Craig Pawson. Quite often in this half, at Manchester City 2, Brighton 0, it's been quite pedestrian, quite slow, and then Erling Haaland has got involved in it, scored 2, and the game looks all over. Paul Robinson.
They've had an excellent half of City. Pep Guardiola will be delighted with his team. The Zerbi's got work to do. Brighton have had their moments in possession. They've had some decent possession. They've caused City problems without any real goal threats. He's got a lot to do at half-time with his team as De Zerbi, because this could be a rout for City.
Half-time, Manchester City 2, Brighton 0, Steve.
John, Paul, thank you very much. Erling Harland has now scored as many Premier League goals this season as Harry Kane did in the whole of last season. He's also halfway to the record total in a single Premier League season. It's his 11th game for Manchester City. Still playing at Goodison at the end of the first half there, John Bennett.
Yeah, the referee about to blow the half-time whistle. Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0. The only disappointment for Everton will be the fact they haven't scored more. They've had all the energy, all the ambition. They took the lead after just 11 minutes. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, his first goal of the season on only his 4th appearance. Lovely turn just inside the box. Even better finish, low across the goalkeeper in front of Gareth Southgate. The England boss is just a few rows in front of me. At the other end, Palace yet to win away this season. They've hardly threatened. Zaha and Anderson with efforts straight at the goalkeeper, but all 3 of their league wins this season have been when they've conceded first, so still hope for them. It's Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0.
As it stands, QPR will end the day top of the Championship. It's half-time at Loftus Road. Flo Pollock.
Yep, half-time, QPR 2, Wigan 1. The Championship leaders have been the better side on the balance of play. They took the lead through Sam Field, a peach of a volley from a corner. Wigan equalised, Broadhead finishing from close range, but Wigan's didn't stay level for long. Just 2 minutes later, QPR regained the lead. Leon Balogun heading home from a corner. QPR very much in charge, but it's far from over. It's an open game with both sides having plenty of chances. At the break, QPR lead Wigan by 2-1.
Half-time whistle has now gone in the Premier League. It is Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0. Dominic Calvert-Lewin making and scoring the goal himself. So QPR winning, which means Blackburn would have to settle for second at the end of the day. They're certainly doing their own job. Aaron Paul.
They are. Blackburn 2, Birmingham 0. Pretty solid stuff from the hosts, who took the lead through Sam Gallagher. He travelled across the face of goal to meet Tyler Morton's cross. The second came minutes before the break as Adam Wharton, making just his 9th appearance, bagged his first ever senior goal, firing a low left-footed drive into the bottom corner of the net. Birmingham, they hit the post through Tahith Chong, but have plenty of work to do here, because at the break it is Blackburn 2, Birmingham 0. Getting confused there, Steve.
Don't worry, it happens to us all. Burnley look a bit confused at the minute, on an incredible unbeaten run, but in real danger of losing it at the Stadium of Light. Half-time, Shojo Saka.
Yeah, Sunderland 2, Burnley 0. For most of this half, you could have done your homework in here, because it's been really, really quiet, like a library. But for a 5-minute burst, which brought 2 goals for Sunderland, and briefly it felt like a house party. The first one coming from 20-year-old Amad Diallo, on loan from Manchester United. That's his first for Sunderland. The second from 20-year-old midfielder Dan Neil. Burnley, who, as you say, brilliant run, unbeaten in 12, have real work to do.
Dan Barlas has just scored for Rotherham right at the end of the first half in their game with Hull City. It is half-time. Rotherham United 1, Hull City 1. If the Stadium of Light is quiet when they're winning, what must Bramall Lane be like at the break? Lee Blakeman.
Not a very happy place is the answer to that question. Norwich in control thanks to 2 gifts from Sheffield United. 2-0 Norwich lead. The first, Timu Pukki pounced after catching keeper Adam Davis in possession. Pukki got the second as well after a long ball wasn't dealt with. Tidy finish from him though nonetheless. Sheffield United reduced largely to half chances, although it took a smart Angus Gunn save to deny Ollie Norwood. At the break, Norwich 2-0 up at a very unhappy Bramall Lane.
Half-time at the Riverside Stadium. Middlesbrough, Huddersfield Town. Charlie Slater.
Middlesbrough 0, Huddersfield 0. Borough the better team so far. Paddy McNair and Dale Fry have both had headers saved, and Duncan Watmore had a decent shout for a penalty turned down near the end of that first 45. As for Huddersfield, Sorba Thomas is a one-man show. He's hit the crossbar direct from a corner, and he's gone close from 25 yards. But otherwise, the visitors have offered very little. It's 4th bottom against bottom of the Championship, and it's looked in. 0-0 at half-time.
Stoke City 0, Coventry City 0. As it stands, Coventry will be second bottom if they get a draw from that game. It's also half-time in the game between Reading and Bristol City. That one is goalless as well. It's the break now as well at the Den. Millwall, West Brom, Chris Temple.
Millwall 1, West Brom 1. Steve, the involvement of former Millwall winger Jed Wallace was predictable, if not particularly welcome in this part of South London after his move north from here over the summer, and it was his pullback on 20 minutes which helped West Brom nip in front. John Smith finishing crisply via a slight deflection. Millwall levelled 7 minutes before the break. It came from Callum Stiles, his first goal since his move from Barnsley, as he fired home a loose ball from a free kick. West Brom could have gone 2 up before that if Wallace had managed to make more of a weak back pass. He was denied by Millwall keeper George Long, but no doubt Wallace's involvement is bubbling up the crowd, which in turn is adding an edge to the game. There's been a few feisty tackles and some off the ball nonsense, but half-time at the Den, it's Millwall 1, West Brom 1.
And already today the other score to bring you is a full-time score. Blackpool 4, Preston 2, 2 for Jerry Yates. He joins the top scorers in the division on 8 goals for the season. Earlier today, there was an absolute thriller, Hearts 3, Celtic 4, which took Celtic 5 points clear at the top. By the end of the game at Ibrox, they might still be 5 points clear. Connie McLaughlin.
They might be, and I tell you what, Steve, the home fans know that because there was boos ringing around Ibrox Stadium because Rangers do trail at the break. It was Christian Montana, the architect. He ran down the left-hand side, found Joel Newbley, who just easily tapped the ball into the bottom left-hand corner. But that wasn't just a fluke. It was Scott Fitzwater who almost made it 2 just a couple of minutes later, but his shot from a corner went just wide, and that pretty much was the story of this 45 minutes. A couple of shots from Antonio Cholak, but Rangers were tame at best. And I tell you what, they're going to need to find a bit of sharpness from somewhere if they want to keep up the pressure on Celtic, as you rightly say. Just got that impetus from that win against Hearts at Tynecastle this afternoon. The title race could be on. Half-time, Rangers 0, Livingston 1.
Best of the rest as it stands are Aberdeen, who are going third in the league at the moment. Half-time, Motherwell 0, Aberdeen 1, Bojan Majowski with the goal. It's Kilmarnock 1, Ross County 0 at the break, and it is also half-time in the game between St Mirren and Dundee United. St Mirren 1, Dundee United 0. St Mirren, if they won that game, would go up to 4th in the table. Scottish Championship half-times, Arbroath 1, Hamilton 0. Ayr are 2-1 up against Cove Rangers. It's Dundee 0, Morton 0. The leaders, Inverness, currently drawing 1-1 with Wraith Rovers, and it's Partick Thistle 0, Queen's Park 1. Scottish League 1, Dunfermline are the league leaders. They're level at 0-0 at half-time at Montrose. It's also 0-0 in the game between Peterhead, who are bottom of the table, and Alloa. FC Edinburgh, second in the league, lead Adrionians by a goal to 0, and it's Falkirk 0, Kelty Hearts 2. No Scottish League 2 this afternoon, but Scottish League 1 is underway. National League scores for you. Aldershot lead York City by a goal to 0. It's Barnet 1, Maidenhead 0. Boreham Wood 1, Wrexham 0. Chesterfield are 1-0 up on Bromley. Chesterfield will be going 4th in the league if they can carry that on. Notts County are the league leaders, not playing this afternoon. Dorking lead Wealdstone by a goal to 0. FC Halifax 0, Dagenham and Redbridge 0. Gateshead 0, Woking 2. Oldham 1, Yeovil 0. It's 1-0 to Solihull Moors. They're at home to Eastleigh. And it's Southend 1, Scunthorpe United 0. Scunthorpe United second bottom in the league and 2 points from safety. Let's take you into the scores in League 1. Full-time, it's Lincoln 1, Sheffield Wednesday 1. Accrington Stanley lead Bolton by a goal to 0. Bristol Rovers 0, Plymouth 2. It's Burton 0, Chesterfield 0. Cambridge United 0, Port Vale 0 as well. Exeter 1, Fleetwood 1. Forest Green Rovers behind at home to Portsmouth at half-time. That one is 1-0. Portsmouth, as it stands, would be going up to 5th in the table. MK Dons 0, Wycombe Wanderers 1. Morecambe are a goal to 0 up on Barnsley at the break. Peterborough United 2-0 up away from home at Oxford United. No goals, though, for the top scorer in the league, Johnson Clark Harris. And the other scorer is Shrewsbury 0, Charlton 0. Let's go into League 2. Half-time at the Lamex. Sohail Sahi.
Yes, Stevenage 1, Northampton 1. Northampton the better team, but the opening goal came to the visitors from the penalty spot after only 30 seconds. The first attack of the game ended with Louis Apre hauled down, and he scored from 12 yards. Stevenage's frustration was on display in the dugout when Steve Evans was shown 2 quick yellows, and not for the first time he was sent to the stands. He might have missed his size equaliser as Danny Rose stole the ball in midfield, and his forceful run was not going to be stopped. Half-time here, Stevenage 1, Northampton 1.
Theo Archibald has scored twice for Leyton Orient at Carlisle United, who were down to 10 men. Leyton Orient going top of the table above Stevenage. They would both be on 33 points. Other scores for you: Crawley 2, Mansfield 2 at half-time. Crewe lead Doncaster Rovers by a goal to 0. Barrow are also a goal to 0 up away from home at Gillingham. It's Grimsby 0, Bradford City 0. Harrogate Town moving up the table, leading Tranmere by a goal to 0. Newport County also 1-0 up at home to Colchester. Rochdale 0, AFC Wimbledon 1 at half-time. Salford trail by a goal to 0 at the break to Stockport County. Rock bottom Hartlepool United, who were hammered in midweek, are behind again. Swindon 2, Hartlepool 1, and it's Sutton United 10-man, Walsall 0. You are up to date with all the scores in England and Scotland. We've got second half commentary on the way from the Etihad, then Chelsea versus Manchester United in full after Sports Report. We'll be back with more after Stuart Clarkson.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
And in the last hour, Boris Johnson's former Parliamentary Private Secretary James Duddridge has said Mr Johnson has reached the 100 nominations needed if he wants to stand in the Tory leadership contest. The number who've publicly come out in support of the former Prime Minister, though, is around 50 at the moment, leading some in the party to question the claim. Earlier, Rishi Sunak passed the 100 mark, but neither he nor Mr Johnson have yet confirmed whether they're standing. Penny Mordaunt is the only candidate so far to say she wants to replace Liz Truss. Also today, a 12-year-old boy has died after a garage wall collapsed in Clacton in Essex. Police say a man in his 30s was injured and had to be pulled from the rubble last night. The Ukrainian government says almost 1.5 million households are without power following another barrage of Russian missiles on civilian energy facilities. The national electricity operator says the latest strikes could have caused more damage than the intense bombardment lasting several days earlier this month. And the Labour mayors of Greater Manchester and Liverpool have urged the government to increase funding for 2 train operators in the north of England to end what they call rail chaos. Andy Burnham and Steve Rotherham say cancellations and delays on Avanti and Northern services are holding back investment in the area.
The best live sports.
Well, it's new, isn't it? A Winter World Cup.
My favourite player, well, it's got to be Jack Grealish. Ronaldo's one of the best players in the world.
For me, I think it's all about Gareth Bale.
Top scorer, Darwin Núñez.
My favourite player is going to be Harry Kane.
Robert Lewandowski, he can score goals for fun.
We're building, but that wasn't enough. You know, we knew 12:30 kickoff. We know what the fixture meant to the fans, and you know, from minute one, we just wanted to get them on the edge of the seat and put in a high energy game. You know, we got the goal and defended so well. No, we're just working every single day. You know, we've put a great performance in today, but you know, it's 3 points. It's not enough. We need to be out the bottom 3 consistently. We need to be winning games because that's what this club's all about.
That's Ryan Yates speaking after Nottingham Forest won in the Premier League, beating Liverpool. Let's take you back to the Etihad Stadium. Second half commentary on the way. John Akers and Paul Robinson then. Paul, just when you were wrapped up at half-time, I read some of the Harland numbers out. I don't know what the most impressive stat is, but the fact that he is halfway to the record goals scored in a single Premier League season after 11, well, not after 11 games, after 10 and a half, is ludicrous.
It's incredible. I mean, what he's capable of achieving after the way he started. He has to stay fit, he has to stay focused. He's hungry for goals, he loves scoring goals. There was absolutely no doubt who was going to take that penalty. Nobody went near the ball because they just knew he was going to take it. And nobody in the stadium expected him to miss it. He just looks a completely different proposition to anything we've seen. Listen, we've seen some great goal scorers in this league and we've had some fantastic players, but I think he is up there already with the best of them.
We spoke about this before the game. It might have been just before you came on, Paul. But the thing with Erling Harland is, I was at the Manchester derby and he'd already scored his hat-trick and Pep made 4 substitutions and he didn't bring Harland off. One of the massive advantages they have with him is that he's not going to the World Cup. So they can basically run him into the ground, can't they?
Well, they've got to be careful with him because they know how important that he is to them. And you look at his injury record over the 2 or 3 seasons before he came here, he didn't really complete the full season. He missed games. So they obviously will look after him, as we saw in the last international break when he took his own physio and fitness coach away with him. He's going to have a nice rest when the World Cup's on. He won't rest. He'll obviously keep himself fit, keep himself ticking over, and he'll be ready to go again. I think it's an ideal season for him to have his first season.
Unbelievable numbers for him. 10.5 games into the Premier League season. He has as many goals as Harry Kane in the whole of last. All yours, John.
It's just ridiculous, isn't it? First time I've seen him in the flesh, and his flesh is really strong, as it turns out. It really is. We're about to get underway for the second half. Manchester City 2-0 up against Brighton. Brighton have made a change, by the way. So Adam Lallana has come off and Tariq Lamptey has come on. Paul's going to have a look and see what that's done to the shape of Brighton as Manchester City take the kickoff. They're kicking from right to left as we look at it. So as the beach ball bounces around the Brighton fans in the away end, they had moments in the first half, Brighton, but they were blown away just by 4, 5, 6 touches really from Erling Haaland that might well have taken this game away from them already. Long diagonal ball from City from back to front. Solly March has done really well for Brighton and has got away down the left-hand side. Good looking cross. It was just too close to Ederson, who really read it exceptionally well, to be honest, and he bowls it out on the left-hand side for Cancelo.
Good forward play by Solly March, who actually got forward because they've changed the positions now. Lamptey's come on, they've kept the 3 at the back, but Solly March has gone into a left wing-back position and Lamptey's come over into this right wing-back position in an area where they think they can affect City by pushing their wide men backwards rather than forwards.
Good feet from Grealish, finds Kevin De Bruyne, who rides a challenge and gets the ball out to the far side to Riyad Mahrez. Not seen Mahrez this season yet drift inside and aim that ball into the top corner, or putting that killer cross and just take those defenders on. He hasn't started the games that he did last season or had the effect so far for Manchester City, and he'll be looking to get on the assists or get in on the goal scoring action for City in the second half, as that ball's put out of play by Ederson, and it's a throw in for Brighton on the far side, midway inside the City half, playing in bright sort of neon crimson, this away kit of Brighton. Lamptey gets his first touch and he is quick down the right hand side. He's got a one-on-one situation, but he's forced to check back. Veltman's got a chance to cross. There are 4 in the penalty area, and that's offside against Gross. That's a bit sloppy. It was a good position for Brighton to be in, as Accrington lead Bolton now by 2-0. An own goal has put Accrington 2-0 in the lead in League One. Manchester City 2, Brighton 0, 5 Live and the World Service. John Akers with Paul Robinson. Ederson's got the ball in his own penalty area. It'd be strange if he had it in the opposition penalty area, wouldn't it? Orange boots, all in maroon, aims a long kick forward, headed by Dunk in front of Harland. Harland, though, wins the second ball and just walks off limping. Might well have got a kick there or a little strain, and he's gone down on his haunches. Erling Haaland, deep in the Brighton half with the ball nowhere near him, and he's still limping here. Erling Haaland. Might have been a little kick that I didn't spot. Paul, did you spot what that was?
Yeah, I think Lewis Dunk has had enough of him, in all honesty. The first half, the first opportunity he gets in the second half, he goes, right, there you go, you can have one of them for your troubles.
Brighton are in possession, going to the byline, putting in a cross, deflected. Ederson comes, drops it, but Danny Welbeck can't quite toe poke it out of his grasp, and Ederson has hold of the ball.
He was slow to react there, Welbeck. It was quite a tame ball coming into the box, the one that you'd expect Ederson to deal with quite comfortably. Looped up off the defender, and Ederson didn't deal with it, and he dropped it, and because Welbeck was expecting him to deal with it, he was caught on his haunches.
Lamptey on Cancelo, free kick Manchester City, 5 yards in from the left-hand touchline inside their own half. Bernardo Silva is inside his own penalty area on a run here, twisting and turning, little drag back. He's still going, Bernardo Silva. What's he doing back there as he gives it to Jack Grealish, who's also on a run midway inside the City half. And that's a crude challenge coming in from Veltman, but referee has played advantage. Jack Grealish gets himself up from the deck. De Bruyne goes in for a challenge on halfway. Brighton have done really well here. Caicedo, and they've won a free kick 30 yards from goal. They think about taking it quickly, but Aymeric Laporte is out to stop them. And this is maybe an opportunity for someone like Gross or McAllister to put one on target and put Ederson under pressure.
Yeah, real opportunity here for Brighton early on in the second half. City are feeling really aggrieved because they thought it was a foul on Grealish first, which I think it was, but it was on the referee's blind side. He couldn't see it. Veltman came across him with his arm and put him to the ground, lost possession, then Brighton gained possession, and they've got a free kick in a dangerous position. The way they've shaped up, it doesn't look like they're going to have a shot on target.
No, they're going to dink one into the penalty area here, aren't they? And they've got 5 in a line, partially in sunlight, across the 18-yard box, as City have everyone back. In it comes from Gross. Good looking ball in. He's just overhit it though, and it goes all the way through for a goal kick to Manchester City. In the Championship, it's Stoke 0, Coventry 1, and we've had a goal at the Medeski. Reading versus Bristol City. Chris, Wise?
Poor game. Reading goal, Reading 1, Bristol City 0. Mamadou Loum, powerful header from a corner. His first for Reading this season, and Reading lead Bristol City 1-0.
Sorry, Chris, I almost got my former BBC Radio Solon Chris's in a muddle there. Chris Wise at Reading, Chris Temple is at Millwall for us this afternoon as Tariq Lamptey brings the ball out of defence. Got a little shove there from Erling Harland, who puts his head in his hands as if to say no way was that a free kick, but Brighton do take it quickly and they have it with Gross on the right hand side. Ball inside to Leandro Trossard. Lamptey tries to go around the outside of Cancelo. He's already causing problems, Tariq Lamptey, and Brighton are in possession with Veltman on the halfway line. Pep Guardiola on the edge of his technical area in his maroon hoodie, and Roberto De Zerbi all in black with white trainers on the edge of his technical area. In League One, we've had a goal at Bristol Rovers at the start of the second half. Let's go to Laura Kenyon.
It's Bristol Rovers 1, Plymouth 2. The home side have one back. Josh Coburn, the substitute with the goal, bundled over the line from close range. The sellout crowd are singing now. Bristol Rovers 1, Plymouth 2.
Brighton are in possession. Little ball into the penalty area from McAllister, and he thought that Trossard was going to read the ball and make the run, and he didn't, and it's all the way through to Ederson in the Manchester City goal. So we'll get an update from Goodison Park. John Bennett.
Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0, but Crystal Palace have woken up in this second half. They had a penalty appeal turned down. Coleman with what looked like a really good challenge on Zaha.
Mahrez, good save. Clears, carry on John Bennett at Goodison.
Michael Elise with a shot just over the bar. Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0.
Crawley 3, Mansfield 2 in League 2. Forward come Brighton, down the left-hand side. Trossard, edge of the penalty area, fancies a shot and scores! That is a strike and a half from Leandro Trossard to give Brighton hope at the Etihad, and you should see their fans in that section. They are on their feet. Beautiful goal. It's Manchester City 2, Brighton 1, Trossard.
What a goal, Leandro Trossard. Brighton do deserve this in the second half. They've come more and more into the game, and it's the danger man Trossard who in the first half caused City a few problems, but they come more into it in the second half. City are sloppy with possession, lose possession deep in their own half. Trossard picks the ball up on the corner of the box, cuts inside, opens himself up. You think he's going across Ederson, and he slams it into Ederson's near post. The goalkeeper will be disappointed, but it's a fantastic strike by Trossard. Brighton are back in this.
That was with his swinger as well, his right foot. I thought it might have taken a little flick off a Manchester City defender, but it doesn't, and Brighton have had a real go at City at the start of this second half. They could have been 3-0 down Mahrez just before that, but they've managed to claw their way back into the game. Oxford United 1, Peterborough 2 in League One. Burnley have got one back at Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland 2, Burnley 1. It's Teller. And let's go into League 2. Let's go to Stevenage and Shoujo. Sorry, let's go to, bear with me, Sunderland. Shoujo.
Yes, Sunderland 2, Burnley 1. It is Nathan Teller, as you say, John. Close range header, came from a corner. Taylor Harwood-Bellis set him up and he finished coolly. Sunderland 2, Burnley 1.
And we've had a yellow card for Riyad Mahrez, and it's a free kick for Brighton at the Etihad, where it's really come to life. Manchester City 2, Brighton 1. 5 Live in the World Service.
2 wide players for Brighton really making a difference. Leandro Trossard again down that side, draws the foul out of Mahrez, and Brighton now got a really dangerous free kick wide. They've got opportunity to load the box and put a real delivery in on top of Edison.
Free kick is about 3 yards in from the left-hand touchline. It's a chance for a cross. There are 4 in the penalty area waiting for this free kick. In it comes, right-footed in-swinger to the near post, partially headed clear, and Solly March, his first touch just lets him down, and it's out for a goal kick to Manchester City. Manchester City 2, Brighton 1.
So disappointing delivery there. They had such an opportunity to put the ball in the box and a goal-scoring chance. The manager there, Roberto De Zerbi, turns around, kicks a water bottle over. He knows his side aren't going to get that many chances in the second half. They had a golden opportunity to deliver it, and they couldn't miss the first man.
10 minutes of the second half gone. St Mirren 1, Dundee United 1. Stephen Fletcher has scored there, and Bolton have got one back at Accrington in League 1. Accrington 2, Bolton 1. Caicedo for Brighton. Into the goal scorer for Brighton, Trossard, who scored a hat-trick at Anfield, don't forget. Another one here would be handy for his manager, Roberto De Zerbi. Caicedo, lovely skill from him, the 20-year-old Ecuadorian. Really good play. Brought it out the sky and then switches the play to the right-hand side. Brighton look like a different team at the moment. Lamptey, infield to McAllister. They've got loads forward here, Brighton. Gross. McAllister again, 35 yards from goal. Manchester City are back in numbers. Pep Guardiola looking pensive on the edge of his technical area. Solly March by the left-hand touchline for Brighton now, in that sunlight. And they've got room with Caicedo. 2 waiting in the middle. In comes the low cross, headed away by Manchester City. McAllister, though, picks up the second ball. Might fancy a shot. Reverse pass. Chance here for Brighton again. Trossard is robbed of the ball by Rodri, but he's given it straight back to Brighton and to Trossard. Back to goal in the penalty area. He goes back to Caicedo, who switches the play to Veltman. City under real pressure here from Brighton. Lamptey on the right-hand side. Level with the edge of the 18-yard box. Stops, checks, goes back inside. McAllister, Veltman, Brighton keeping possession, and City's fans roaring on the home side.
Really good sustained possession from Brighton. You've got to give them a lot of credit for the way that they've come out in this second half. Again, Lamptey on this near side causing problems.
Lamptey, cross right-footed, chance again for Brighton. Oh, diving in at the far post was Leandro Trossard, and he says it got a flick off a Man City head. Roberto De Zerbi is off down the touchline, furious with the assistant, but it is a Manchester City goal kick.
Very good again by Brighton. Lamptey especially this side. Cancelo doesn't get near to him, puts the ball into the box, and then that man Trossard again tries to get across Akanji at the far post. Brighton were unhappy that Akanji lent on him a little bit, and I think they were looking for a penalty, but I think it's a lot more positive signs from Brighton in this second half, really is.
Carlisle 1, Leyton Orient 3 now in League 2. Rotherham 1, Hull 2 in the Championship, and Motherwell 1, Aberdeen 1 in the Scottish Premiership. Let's go to Sandy Park. Exeter Chiefs versus Saracens. Gareth Lewis.
Yeah, the leaders Saracens again against the run of play back in front. An Owen Farrell penalty to make it 13-10. They're edging back into this though, and Exeter down to 14 men with Harvey Skinner in the sin bin. Exeter 10, Saracens 13.
Goal kick here for Brighton. It was an overhit pass, a rare one from Kevin De Bruyne, who has obviously been in the game, but 9 assists in 10 matches so far this season. He's been unbelievable, providing assists. He's the fastest to 9 assists in a season, along with Fabregas and Kane, as Mahrez has got it at the byline and puts in a right foot cross, and it's blocked. It's Veltman, and it's a corner for Manchester City. Paul Robinson.
Excellent again by Harland, hold-up play, little ball over the top. Mahrez had a really good opportunity, good block in the end by the Brighton defence. City just starting to come into the game a little bit in the second half now.
Short corner, Mahrez has got it, 30 yards from goal. Little step over, might fancy a shot here, Mahrez, but he's being well policed by Tariq Lamptey of Brighton. Cross is going to come in from the right-hand side towards Erling Harland. Headed away, protecting the back four is Welbeck. Bernardo Silva gets shoved out of the way by Caicedo. High hanging ball from Diaz towards the edge of the Brighton penalty area, and Sanchez comes out and snaffles it ahead of Kevin De Bruyne. Let's get an update from Goodison Park. John Bennett.
Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0. Amazing pace and energy to this game. Dominic Calvert-Lewin almost had his second around the goalkeeper, but forced wide. Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0.
Matty Taylor's been sent off for Oxford United in League One. Oxford 0, Peterborough United 2, and St Mirren are 2-1 up against Dundee United. League 2, Harrogate 1, Tranmere 1. And you are up to date on the fastest goal service around 5 Live Sport and the World Service, as Phil Foden is about to come on, as Brighton are in possession and looking for an equaliser. Trossard, corner of the penalty area, swings in across, acrobatic clearance by Aymeric Laporte in front of Danny Welbeck. Now it's Solly March, left-hand side, midway inside the City half. Phil Foden is in the technical area with his manager, getting some last-minute words of advice. Harland with a rare touch this second half. Toe pokes it to Jack Grealish. Good football from City, and away they go down the left-hand side now with Cancelo, who's forced to check inside. Lamptey so quick. Lovely crossfield ball to Mahrez. This is the kind of position he likes, but that's brilliant defending back there from Brighton. A strong challenge from Gross. Play on, says Craig Pawson, the referee, and he's going to bring it back. Is he going to book Rodri here for diving? He's got his yellow card out. Paul Robinson.
I can't see him booking Rodri for diving there. There was clear contact. I think that's a perfect example of the more leniency that we're seeing with referees. Rodri's clearly hurt, so he's caught him. I think he's booking for somebody for the chat that they've given the referee afterwards. Just looking at the incident again, he clearly catches Rodri there. How the referee's not given a free kick, I don't know. I think the yellow card was given for after the incident, unless one of his assistants or the other officials has told him in his ear that there was contact, and it looks to me like he's given the free kick. There was clear contact. The referee's taken advice from his assistant, given the free kick and given a yellow card.
St Mirren's goal was disallowed. St Mirren 1, Dundee United 1 in the Scottish Premiership, and it's going to be Riyad Mahrez coming off for Phil Foden. He's had one massive chance to make it 3-0. If he scores that, the game's out of sight, you think, but Brighton are right in it at 2-1 as they went pretty much straight up the other end with Leandro Trossard and scored. But it's not a bad sub to have, is it, Phil Foden?
Especially not the form that he's in. I think he'll be looking forward to playing a little bit more advanced this week than he did against Liverpool. He'll play on that right-hand side with Grealish over here on the left. Foden will be looking to cut in on his left foot.
Let's quickly go to the Memorial Ground. Bristol Rovers versus Plymouth in League One. Laura Kenyon.
Bristol Rovers 2, Plymouth 2. Ryan Loft flicked it on to Aaron Collins deep in the box. Lovely link-up play, and Collins buried his 9th of the season. Joey Barton's side, they've equalised against the league leaders, 2-2.
Sounds like a good game, that. As Phil Foden straight into the action, might want to take this free kick. It's midway inside the Brighton half. It's going to be a cross rather than a shot, we think. Kevin De Bruyne is going to drift one in. Into the middle it goes. Header one by Laporte, but it's wide, and it will be a Brighton goal kick. Let's go to Bramall Lane. Goal, Lee Blakeman.
Sheffield United back in it. Sheffield United 1, Norwich 2. Sharp found Ben Osborne, left side of the area, hard and low, across goal. Half an hour to play. Sheffield United 1, Norwich 2.
Always good games. Lee gets up there. Expect another 4 or 5. It's like a goal magnet. Rodri for Manchester City, on halfway. Here's a first touch for Phil Foden, and a second, and a third, and a fourth, and a fifth, and he's still got it. And he gives it to Bernardo Silva, who's on the lip of the centre circle, twisting and turning and looking for an angle and looking for a run from a Manchester City player. Leading by 2-1. Erling Harland with his 16th and 17th Premier League goals of the season in 10.5 matches. The ball falls for Foden, running forward. Strong challenge from Caicedo, who's on a yellow card but has still been putting in some brilliant challenges. Foden on the left-hand side. In comes his cross, and it's chested back to the goalkeeper Sanchez by Webster. Brighton are in possession in their own penalty area. Ball back with Sanchez. Let's go to Goodison again. Everton versus Palace. John Bennett.
Everton have the ball in the back of the net, but the flag is up. Anthony Gordon thought he'd scored after an excellent save by Guaita, but the flag has gone up, so it's still 1-0 to Everton against Crystal Palace, who have made a double change. Mateta and Schlupp are on there, giving it a real go now, Crystal Palace. Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0.
Carlisle 2 late, Orient 3 in League 2, and Coventry are 2-0 up in the Championship at Stoke City. As Manchester City are in possession on the halfway line.
Let's get an update from the Stadium of Light. Sunderland, Burnley, Shojo Saka.
Burnley have an equaliser. It's Sunderland 2, Burnley 2. It's substitute Manuel Benson cutting in from the side. A long shot from 25 yards out. The defence missed it, the keeper missed it. It's Sunderland 2, Burnley 2.
Hull 3-1 up at Rotherham as well in the Championship. And Veltman's going to need some attention here, so he's going to get some treatment as the players come across to the near sides to get a drink, some of them. Roberto De Zerbi wants his Brighton players around. They've been very, very good in the second half. Scored a brilliant goal through Leandro Trossard. How do you see this one at the moment, Paul Robinson?
I think the biggest change that they made at half-time was they put Solly March to left wing-back in behind Trossard, and him and Trossard on that left-hand side have caused City so many problems, and I think that's what's made Pep change Mahrez, because Mahrez defensively maybe doesn't give you as much as Foden does. So I think to counteract that, he's brought Foden on to try and push Brighton back on that side. But Brighton have done a really good account of themselves in this second half, and there's still a game to be played.
Let's go back to Goodison, to John Bennett.
Everton 2, Crystal Palace 0. Anthony Gordon's goal has been given. It was disallowed at the time by the assistant referee, who raised his flag. Mikalenko's shot saved by the keeper. Gordon knocked it into the back of the net. Everton 2, Crystal Palace 0.
Thank you, John. We're going to have a change here for Brighton. So Enciso is going to come on, or is it Estupiñán who's going to come on? We'll have a look. Estupiñán, I think it could be. And Veltman is going to go off here.
It won't mean a change of shape. It'll be a like-for-like change. Injury there to Veltman. They'll keep the same shape. They'll keep the same system. It's worked well for them in this second half, but it's been an enforced change that the manager won't have wanted to make.
Brighton in possession in their own penalty area. Manchester City 2, Brighton 1 on 5 Live and BBC World Service. On the halfway line, Bernardo Silva. This could have been out of sight, this, but Brighton are right in it. Ederson switches the play to the far side, and it's picked up in midfield by Brighton, who've won the ball back, and forward come Brighton through the middle. They might have a chance here. McAllister, he's going to hit one, and it's high over the crossbar, only by a couple of yards to be honest, but Ederson looked like he may have it covered, and it's a goal kick to Manchester City.
They look good yet again, Brighton. They look a different team to the one that came out in the first half. The one playing second half is one that we've seen so often, pressing high, creating chances, but they just lack that cutting edge. We've had the Trossard goal. You just wonder how adventurous they're going to be for the last part of this game. The next goal in this game, I know we say it so often, is going to be vital. It's going to be key. If City get the next goal, then it could be all over. Brighton get the next goal, then we've got a really interesting last quarter of this game.
We are 67 minutes in as Harland goes chasing after Dunk and pushes him over. He was eating up the ground behind Lewis Dunk there, but the referee Craig Pawson was right on top of it. Has given the free kick to Brighton. Harland with both City goals on 22 and 43. The second one a penalty. Trossard on 53 for Brighton. 23 minutes of the game remaining. Manchester City 2, Brighton 1. Wimbledon are 2-0 up in League 2 at Rochdale. Josh Davidson. And Rochdale have actually just got one back. Tyrese Sinclair. So Rochdale 1, Wimbledon 2. Caicedo for Brighton in his own half.
I like the way Harland just lifted his shirt up and showed the referee his bicep then after he gave him a free kick against him for that foul on Dunk. Lifted the top of his shirt up as if to say, that's what did it, ref.
Just too strong, too quick. They've kept him quiet so far in this second half, but he proved in the first half he doesn't really need to touch the ball very often. When he does, it's incisive to say the least.
He has, he's been very quiet this second half, but that's credit that you've got to give for Brighton for the way that they've approached it. He's had very, very few touches or opportunities in this second half.
Charlton lead in League One at Shrewsbury. Raksaki with the goal, and Manchester City are in possession deep in their own half as Diaz rolls the ball back to Ederson, who left-footed puts the ball straight out. Quite a good distance on the kick. It's out of play on the far side, and it's a throw-in for Brighton. You've got possession deep in their own half. Solly March has looked good. No goal since November 2020. It's 2 years since he last scored a goal, but he has looked a threat
for Brighton, as you say, Paul, as Brighton win the ball in their own half. De Bruyne was going for it, but McAllister's got possession, the Argentinian. 4 goals for him this season, and we know there are goals in this Brighton team, as they proved at Liverpool. Here's the goal scorer, Trossard, who does look very good indeed. I mean, with his right foot, it was past Ederson at his near post. So much power on it. Caicedo, McAllister, Lamptey, all this in their own half here for Brighton. Manchester City putting pressure on. You heard the thump of ball on boot there as Aymeric Laporte, in his first Premier League start of the season, came across and put the ball out of play for a Brighton throw, 15 yards inside the Manchester City half.
I know the Brighton result at Anfield was better than this one, but I think this second half performance is better than they played at any point during that game.
Lamptey into the feet of Welbeck on the halfway line. He's got loads of time and space, and he's still running with it, Danny Welbeck. Now the ball's with Caicedo. In fact, it's Estupiñán. And now into the feet of Welbeck, edge of the penalty area. He's back to goal. Caicedo, McAllister, 25 yards from goal, thinks about a shot. Now Lamptey. Lamptey might take one. McAllister again. Again, he's 25 yards from goal. Little chip ball. Lamptey's header. And there is Ederson to dive theatrically to his right and claim the ball. Lovely build-up play. Lovely football from Brighton.
Again, McAllister at the heart of everything that Brighton do good. Just sitting on the edge of that box, 30 yards from goal. Lamptey makes a great run in behind the Man City defence. Cancelo and Grealish collide into each other. The smallest man on the park, Lamptey, gets ahead on it, and then Ederson manages to get out of his 6-yard box, claim the ball, and Manchester City again on the attack.
On BBC Sounds, as Manchester City come forward, it's Harland in the penalty area. Harland with a look at goal. His shot is deflected behind for a corner over the crossbar. It's his first sighter. You just expected the net to bulge. Corner for Manchester City. Let's get to Sheffield United. Another goal, Lee Blakeman.
2-2, McBurney on as a sub, sliding in at the back post. Great finish, and this place has gone absolutely crazy. From 2 down, Sheffield United are now level with Norwich at 2-2.
He won't be finished there, Lee, either. Greedy with his goals at Bramall Lane. He got a 3-3 there last week. Just hogging all the airtime. Corner for Manchester City on the right-hand side. Kevin De Bruyne goes across to take it. Right-footed away swinger. Laporte's header! Just wide. It was a really good leap. Sanchez was at full stretch, but just wide. Goal kick Brighton.
Great delivery by De Bruyne from that far side. Right foot out swinging. Misses the goalkeeper, the defender's out. Laporte knows what's coming, attacks it from deep. He's probably a little bit too far out to cause the goalkeeper a problem, but it does just whistle past that far post. If it was on target, Sanchez had it covered.
In the Scottish Premiership, Motherwell 1, Aberdeen 2. Accrington have given up a 2-goal lead, and Bolton have come back to draw 2-2. Kieran Lee with the goal. Brighton in possession, deep in their own half. We've got team news from Stamford Bridge. Chelsea versus Manchester United. Our correspondent John Murray.
Well, Chelsea make 4 changes from midweek. Aubameyang, Sterling, Chilwell and Thiago Silva all come back in. So Havertz, Bruyne and Gallagher are on the bench. Koulibaly's not involved at all, so it looks like Azpilicueta at wing-back and Loftus-Cheek in midfield. And 1 change for Manchester United from midweek. Eriksen returns for Fred, and as you'll know, Ronaldo absent today after his midweek strop.
Thank you, John. Corner for Brighton. A really good run from Trossard, and a shot which was deflected behind for a Brighton corner in front of their own supporters on the far side. It's going to be a right-footed in-swinger, and they've got 6 bodies in the box here. Brighton looking for an equaliser at 2-2. In it comes, headed away at the near post by Erling Harland, who put in some leap for Manchester City. Brighton have got the ball. Manchester City have got everyone back. Square ball towards Tariq Lamptey. Brighton having a real go. Trossard, the goal scorer, chips it forward towards Lamptey. Manchester City with a header clear, but only as far as Solly March. Back to goal by the corner flag, twisting and turning and doing really well, but then he's given the ball away with a little reverse pass to Tariq Lamptey, and this is the kind of position where maybe Manchester City will break, but Jack Grealish is challenged by Tariq Lamptey, and it's a throw to Manchester City. We've got a goal at Sunderland. Shojo Saka.
Sunderland 2, Burnley 3. It's an extraordinary turnaround, John. Burnley were 2-0 down, 3-2 up now. Anas Zaroury with this one, all his own work. Curling shot from the edge of the box past the keeper. Sunderland 2, Burnley 3.
It's all going off in the Championship. Goal at the Medeski at Reading, Chris Wise. Goal at Millwall, Chris Temple.
From an identical position, this time found the net, but the flag was up. It remains Millwall 1, West Brom 1.
Thank you, Chris. My Chris is in a mix again, in a twist. Manchester City in possession. Bernardo Silva running with the ball deep into the Brighton half, to the edge of the penalty area. Kevin De Bruyne in loads of space! Oh! What a goal! Kevin De Bruyne, 25 yards out, set himself, curler, Sanchez beaten, and that should be it. Manchester City score 3 in a Premier League home game. Again, that's 10 in a row. Manchester City 3, Brighton 1.
Well, it's a De Bruyne special. Absolutely fantastic. You know what I mean when you say it's one of his best. Bernardo Silva running at the defence, gets to the edge of the box, cuts inside. You think he's going to put it across the face of the box, pulls it back to the edge of the box. Kevin De Bruyne opens it up out of his feet, and he just reverses it back on Sanchez. If you're going out tonight, make sure you press record for Match of the Day. You won't want to miss that.
Oh, that was absolutely top draw from Kevin De Bruyne. Vintage. I'm trying to see whether it got a little flick on the way through off Caicedo, maybe off his shoulder. I don't think it did. Only he strikes a football like that. Kevin De Bruyne, take a bow. That is his 3rd Premier League goal of the season. 9 assists for Kevin De Bruyne. It really is an exquisite goal.
That shows you what quality City have got. Brighton didn't deserve that. Brighton have been in the ascendancy in this half. They've had all the possession, they've had a couple of opportunities, and that's a real sucker punch for De Zerbi and his men, because they've played well this second half. City have hit them on the break. 2 little passes. Silva, De Bruyne, fantastic finish. That's what this team can do.
It's his 2nd goal of the season. Kevin De Bruyne. Let's go to the rugby at Sandy Park. Exeter versus Saracens. Gareth Lewis.
Yeah, Saracens have taken control and are taking this game away from Exeter. 3 second-half penalties, 2 from Owen Farrell, a monster from Elliot Daly. They now lead Exeter by 19 points to 10.
Gillingham 1, Barrow 1 in League 2. Bolton have come from 2-0 down to lead 3-2 at Accrington in League 1. We'll bring you all the goals as they go in, as Cole Palmer comes on for Jack Grealish here at the Etihad. A chance to see what he can do with that cushion now of 2 goals again. Paul Robinson.
He was getting the substitution ready before the goal, so it was one that was obviously looking like he was going to make, which sees Foden come onto this left side and Cole Palmer go out onto the right-hand side.
Webster in possession for Brighton. That's really not the wind out of Brighton's sails. They really were pushing for an equaliser, having a right go, but it's just the quality that Manchester City have got that they're able to do that, to get a little sighter 25 yards out, and for Kevin De Bruyne just to bend it into the top corner. It's classic. Let's go to Ewood Park. Blackburn, Birmingham. Aaron Paul.
Here we go, John. We have a goal for the visitors. They pull one back. Blackburn 2, Birmingham 1. Scott Hogan, after the ball was knocked down, he smashed it into the back of the net past Thomas Kaminski. Blackburn 2, Birmingham 1, 10 to go.
Throw in for Brighton here, right-hand side. Manchester City leading 3-1 on 5 Live Sport, BBC Sounds and the World Service. We've got 13 minutes plus added time. Manchester City in possession with Ruben Diaz. They've won the ball back through Solly March, and March has won a free kick on the halfway line, boots it against the legs of Bernardo Silva, and we're going to see a change here for Brighton.
De Bruyne's brilliance there, been involved in 5 goals in his 4 home games, scored 2, 3 assists, just shows you his quality.
Danny Welbeck's coming off, and as a former Manchester United player is getting roundly booed, as you would expect, and fellow striker Deniz Undav is on the way onto the field. And thank you to Benji a little bit earlier on, Patrick Keelty's show, who gave me a great stat about Danny Welbeck, who sits in his seat and grabs a tuna sandwich as Brighton are in possession, but the flag's gone up. This will be pulled back, and it will be a free kick to Manchester City deep in their own half. St Mirren 2, Dundee United 1 in the Scottish Premiership. And let's get an update now from Loftus Road and Flo Pollock.
QPR still lead Wigan by 2-1. The home side have had chances to put the game to bed and get the third. They haven't done that yet, though. 10 minutes left to play. It's QPR narrowly leading Wigan by 2-1.
Oh, what a shame. Erling Haaland's coming off. Not if you're a Brighton fan. This is good news for you. Now, he hasn't touched the ball an awful lot, but in the first half, his 2 goals were brilliantly taken in the 22nd minute. Too strong. Rolled the ball into an empty net after Sanchez made the decision to come. The penalty, Sanchez goes the right way, but it's literally just past him before he can move. The pace and the power from a 3-step run-up. So off goes Harland. They've made the change. On comes Alvarez for Manchester City. Let's go to Goodison Park. John Bennett.
Everton 2, Crystal Palace 0. Even bigger ovation here for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's just come off for Neil Maupay. He scored the first Everton goal. Anthony Gordon got the second, given by VAR after the assistant had said it was offside. Wilfred Zaha has been booked for a clash with Anthony Gordon. Everton 2, Crystal Palace 0.
And as Steve said, Steve Crossman earlier on 5 Live Sport, he's halfway to the record for Premier League goals after 11 games. He scored the same number of goals as Harry Kane did in the whole of last season. 17 goals in 11 games, Paul Robinson, as Brighton win a corner.
Scored nearly as many goals as Danny Welbeck's had chances this year. That puts it into perspective.
Corner. Gross is going to take it for Brighton into the near post. Cleared away by Palmer. And they'll break here, Manchester City, with Phil Foden. Such quick feet. Finds the scorer of the third goal, the captain, Kevin De Bruyne. Who rolls the ball square. Manchester City keeping it. But they are ratting about Brighton. They're still putting in a shift here as the ball switched to the far side. And Brighton win possession just in front of Palmer there for Manchester City on as a substitute. Brighton in possession with Tariq Lamptey, a substitute himself for Brighton, and the ball's behind. Is that corner? It is. So we've got a corner for Manchester City here. Crewe 1, Doncaster 1 in League 2. Equaliser for Donny from George Miller. And it will be a corner for Manchester City. They're in no hurry to take this. 9 minutes plus added time remaining, leading Brighton by 3-1. De Bruyne is arguing that Tariq Lamptey is not back 10 yards. Manchester City have got 5 in the penalty area waiting for it. Short corner, Foden, and now De Bruyne. De Bruyne to the far post, but he's put too much on it, and it's behind for a Brighton goal kick. Scores in League 2 then. Let's go through them. Carlisle 2, Leyton Orient 3. Crawley 3, Mansfield 2. Crewe 1, Doncaster 1. Gillingham 1, Barrow 1. Grimsby 0. Bradford 0, Harrogate 1, Tranmere 1, Newport County 1, Colchester 0, Rochdale 1, AFC Wimbledon 2, Salford 0, Stockport 2, Stevenage 1, Northampton 1, Sutton 1, Walsall 0, and Swindon 2, Hartlepool 1. Free kick for Brighton, 15 yards inside their own half. Let's go into Scotland. Rangers Livingston, Connie McLaughlin.
Yes, Livingston who still lead this one by 1-0, but they're down to 10 men. VAR had its first outing at Ibrox just a couple of minutes ago, and it resulted in Morgan Boys, this substitute, being red carded for a challenge. Serious foul play on Alfredo Morelos. As it stands, 81 minutes on the clock. Rangers 0, Livingston 1.
Here come Manchester City again with Cole Palmer wearing the number 80 shirt. Rodri inside the Brighton half. Lovely feet brilliant from Rodri. What skill down the right-hand side, and he's still going. He's got 2 Brighton players around him. It's out for a throw-in as the challenge comes in. Goal in League 2 at Stevenage. Sohail Sahi.
It's gone to Northampton, John. They're leading Stevenage, the leaders, by 2-1. It was a fine finish from the edge of the area from Kieran Bowie. Smart goal. Stevenage 1, Northampton 2.
Manchester City in possession in the centre circle. In League 1 then. Earlier on it was Lincoln 1, Sheffield Wednesday 1. Bolton are leading 3-2 at Accrington after having been 2-0 behind. Burton Albion leading Cheltenham by 1-0. It's Bristol Rovers 2, Plymouth 2 in the West Country derby. Cambridge 0, Port Vale 0. Exeter 1, Fleetwood 1. Forest Green 0, Portsmouth 1. Wickham leading 1-0 at MK Dons. Morecambe 1-0 up against Barnsley. Peterborough 2-1 up at Oxford, and Charlton 1-0 up at Shrewsbury, as Brighton are in possession in the centre circle with McAllister trailing by 3-1. Foul, free kick. in the centre circle. Let's go back to the rugby, to the Premiership. Gareth Lewis, Exeter Chiefs versus Saracens.
6 minutes to go. Exeter right back in it. Try from Jacques Vermeulen, converted by Henry Slade. The crowd deafening and trying to roar the Chiefs on to a win over the league leaders. Exeter 17, Saracens 19.
Don't forget, we've got the Rugby League World Cup covered. England versus France from the University of Bolton Stadium, with Katie Smith, Matt Newsom, Paul Rowley there for us today. England versus France. Sports Extra. The coverage begins at 4:45 as forward come Brighton down the left. Useful looking cross, headed away by Manchester City. They've got possession on the edge of the box. They'll try and play it out. Rodri with a lovely little toe in. He gets us so many of those first, but Brighton have won the ball back. They're not giving up here. Roberto De Zerbi's team still searching for his first win as manager. Here is Solly March. Lovely turn from the Englishman on the edge of the area, puts in a shot. Rodri's there again with a little block. He's been excellent, Paul Robinson, hasn't he?
He's brilliant. I'm not afraid. He's my favourite player, you know, John. I think he's fantastic. The all-round central midfielder. He's got everything. He just seems to cruise through games, and then he'll just up it another level. He's one of the best players in the world for me. I just think he's fantastic.
Rodri can't be your favourite Man City player, Paul. Come on, I'm not having that. Oh dear. Erling Harland out there, and Foden and De Bruyne. Here's Solly March. He is brilliant at his job, and he's been great today. Solly March whips in a cross. Will it come here on the far side to Estupiñán? It will. He keeps it in. Oh, chance here. Trossard in the penalty area. Rolls it back. Caicedo blocked on the way to the goalkeeper. Edison had already gone down with the dive. Manchester City are letting Brighton come on to them here, but Brighton have won a free kick on the far side with a chance to threaten again. Goal at Goodison, John Bennett.
What a goal this is. Make sure you watch this one on Match of the Day. Everton 3, Crystal Palace 0. Dwight McNeil 1-2 with Alex Iwobi. A back heel assist by Iwobi. Lovely close range finish by McNeil. It's Everton 3, Crystal Palace 0.
MOTD, BBC One, 10:30 tonight with Gary Lineker, Danny Murphy and Martin Keown. Brighton are in possession on the halfway line. Salford 0, Stockport 2 in League 2. Burton are 1-0 up against Cheltenham. Sutton have taken the lead against Walsall in League 2. Vale have taken the lead. Port Vale at Cambridge United 1-0 as the ball drifts out for a Manchester City goal kick. All the goals are flying in League 2. Let's go back to Stevenage. Suhail Sahi.
Stevenage have equalised. It's 2-2. You can't keep a good team down. Corner wasn't cleared. It fouled to Alex Gilby, and he converted from 8 yards away. Stevenage 2, Northampton 2, and Northampton have just got a third, John. It's Stevenage 2, Northampton 3. Brilliant scenes here.
Goals flying in all over the place. Penalty at Bramall Lane. Lee Blakeman.
And Tucky's had it saved. He was on a hat-trick. Great save by Davis, low down to his left. It's still Sheffield United 2, Norwich 2.
Wow, all the drama, all the goals as they go in. 5 Live Sport on BBC Sounds and the BBC World Service for you as Manchester City prepare to take this goal kick. And we've had another change here. So Gilmour is on and Aymeric Laporte or Sarmiento. So they've made 2. Paul Robinson can update me. I was looking at a screen.
2 substitutions. Gilmour and Sarmiento have come on. Attacking changes from De Zerbi, looking to try and change the game in the last, what have we got here, looking at the scoreboard, 2.5 minutes plus injury time, what we've got left.
3-1 for Manchester City with Brighton in possession on the edge of their own penalty area. Lamptey goes back to Webster under pressure. It's good, really good pressure coming in there from Alvarez as Man City in possession again here with Cole Palmer, edge of the penalty area. Opened up for him for a moment, but he couldn't get the ball out from under his feet. It's good play at the back there. And Akanji brings the ball forward, low ball in towards Phil Foden, cleared away. Cole Palmer again. 4 Manchester City players in the penalty area. Lovely 1-2 with Foden. Palmer to the byline, has to check and go back and plays the ball all the way back to Cancelo. Manchester City keeping possession. Lip of the centre circle leading 3-1 against Brighton. It's Laporte who sells a dummy, gives it to Rodri, who gets it to Foden, midway inside the Brighton half on the right-hand side. Now Palmer, level with the penalty area, checks and goes back inside. Foden again, 3 runners ahead of him, but he keeps the ball, keeping possession here, Manchester City. A little bit of shirt pulling going on there from Estupiñán. And is it a free kick? I think it is. Let's get in up let's get an update from the rugby from Exeter, Gareth Lewis.
Exeter in front, 20 points to 19. Another Henry Slade penalty. Saracens 2 minutes away from their first league defeat of the season.
Here's Cancelo for Manchester City, who plays a ball inside, but it's intercepted, and Brighton have got possession in the Championship. Earlier it was Blackpool 4, Preston 2 full-time. Blackburn are leading Birmingham City by 2-1. It's Middlesbrough 0, Huddersfield 0, Millwall 1, West Bromwich Albion 1. West Brom down to 10 men there. QPR 2, Wigan 1, Reading 1, Bristol City 0, Rotherham 1, Hull 4, Sheffield United 2, Norwich City 2. As the ball is in the hands of Sanchez. Let's hear about that red card at Millwall. Chris Temple.
Yes, West Brom defender Kyle Bartley sent off with 6 minutes left for a second yellow card. He can't really have any complaints for dragging his man back. West Brom have been under pressure in this second half. Millwall with the better of the opportunities, and now it'll get even tougher for these closing minutes. West Brom down to 10, 1-1 the score.
Brighton in possession on the far side, trailing Manchester City 3-1 at the Etihad. A lot of the seats have emptied. The Manchester City fans think that the job is done here. Harland with 2, De Bruyne with the other, Trossard with the goal for Brighton. Coventry leading Stoke City by 2-0. There's a goal at the Stadium of Light. Shojo Saka.
Sunderland 2, Burnley 4. It feels like game, set and match. Josh Brownhill with this one, combining really well with Manuel Benson down the right. It's Sunderland 2, Burnley 4.
Wow, 4-2. Goals flying in the Championship. Brighton in possession deep in their own half. You'd feel it's probably too little too late for them. We've got you covered tomorrow, don't forget. 5 Live Premier League Sunday, Southampton versus Arsenal, then Spurs versus Newcastle, and on Sports Extra I'm doing Villa versus Brentford, and the other 2 matches that I haven't mentioned are on the BBC Sport website. So every Premier League game tomorrow you will hear on the BBC.
And let's hope it's as good as the ones that we've had today. You look at the Forest-Liverpool game this morning, that sounded a fantastic game. We've had a great performance in the second half here from Brighton. There's ways of losing games, and De Zerbi's team haven't come here, they haven't been overwhelmed. The first half, after they went 2 down, it could have been a long day for them, but they've come out in the second half and made a real good show of themselves. They'll be pleased with the way that his team's played in this second half.
Paul Robinson's fuming. They've given the man of the match here to Kevin De Bruyne and not to Rodri.
I think he deserves it, doesn't he? His assists and his goal wasn't too bad. So there might be a man sat on the bench that scored 2 that might be a little annoyed that it's not him.
Yeah, but only 2 though, and one of them a penalty. I mean, standards are slipping, aren't they, from Harland, really?
We expect more.
We do. Only 17 from 11 games. I mean, come on. Brighton in possession, 10 yards inside their own half. Right-hand side, Lamptey plays the ball down the right, looking for the run of Solly March. Intercepted by Manchester City, and it's out for a throw-in midway inside the City half. Lamptey will take it. Still no win then for Roberto De Zerbi. And Manchester City back 2 winning ways after a week with no goals and defeat to Liverpool and a 0-0 in the week. They've got a big Champions League game coming up against Borussia Dortmund, of course, avoid defeat, and they'll top the group. Let's go to the Medeski, to Reading and Chris Wise.
Reading have got a second goal. They're 2-0 up against Bristol City, and 2 former Premier League stalwarts have made it off the bench. Shane Long squaring for Andy Carroll in stoppage time. Reading 2, Bristol City 0.
Here come Brighton with a little late flourish. Step over on the edge of the penalty area, but they've lost possession to Manchester City. That's a foul on Bernardo Silva, and it's a free kick. Goal at Rangers, Connie McLaughlin.
And it's a goal for the home side. They've equalised. It's 90 minutes on the clock. We've played an extra minute, but there's 7 minutes injury time to play. It was John Lundstrom, by the way, who got his shot into the back of the net. It was about a yard inside the box. Powerful strike past Shamal George. 1-1 in Ibrox.
Back to the rugby, to Gareth Lewis at Sandy Park.
What a finish. Utter silence at Sandy Park. Saracens have won it with the last kick of the game. A penalty from a scrum. Alex Good, the substitute, slotting it over. Saracens' unbeaten start continues. Exeter 20, Saracens 22.
Aymeric Laporte's getting some treatment here, so we've got a stoppage in play. And Exeter, meanwhile, in the football, have come from behind to be leading Fleetwood 2-1. Nombe has scored there in the 3rd minute of added time. Laporte still getting some treatment. His first game of the season, his first full start this season. He's looked fairly comfortable, but he looks like he's struggling now. Let's go to Stevenage in League 2. Red card, Sahale.
Yeah, still Stevenage 2, Northampton 3, John, but Northampton down to 10 men. Danny Hilton sent off. We've got 4 minutes to play of the 7 that have been added on at the end of this game. Stevenage 2, 10-man, Northampton 3.
All the reaction coming up in Sports Report here on 5 Live. Let's get full time from Goodison. It's been a good day for Everton. John Bennett.
Brilliant win for Everton. They end that run of 3 defeats on the spin. Everton 3, Crystal Palace 0. Goals for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Anthony Gordon and Dwight McNeil. Everton 3, Crystal Palace 0.
Commentary still to come with John Murray and Jonathan Woodgate of Chelsea versus Manchester United at 5:30 as the kick is taken by Ederson and Laporte is back on the pitch and running, and he's got the ball back here. Ederson, let's go to the den. Chris Temple.
Millwall look to have won it late. Tyler Bury was denied by an offside flag a few minutes ago, but this time no flag. Minutes after West Brom's Kyle Bartley had been sent off. Millwall looking like they're going to nick their 4th win in a row and head into the top 6. 2-1 Millwall.
Rotherham 2, Hull 4. So many goals in the Championship today, and we've had 4 here at the Etihad. Manchester City leading Brighton by 3-1. 2 from Harland, 1 from Kevin De Bruyne, as Caicedo for Brighton gets it to Trossard, who scored their goal and is fouled, and it's a free kick for Brighton on the lip of the centre circle inside their own half. Brilliant goal from Trossard, brilliant goal from Kevin De Bruyne, both worth watching tonight. BBC One 10:30 with Gary, Danny Murphy and Martin Keown. And that's it. There's the full-time whistle. Manchester City get back to winning ways and they cut the gap at the top to Arsenal to a point. A really important win after their defeat to Liverpool and their 0-0 draw in midweek in Europe. Paul Robinson.
Comfortable in the end for City, but I think the De Zerbi will be pleased with the way that his team approached it in the second half. City were very, very good in the first half. You wondered how Brighton would come out in the second half, but credit to the manager, he made a couple of changes. He tried to affect what Manchester City were doing, and they did that. You can tell that they're learning a new system under the manager, and there were signs there for Brighton that were encouraging. They got the goal, and at the time when City got their 3rd, Brighton were pressing, they were in the ascendancy, they were unlucky to concede, but as soon as De Bruyne hit the top bin with that 3rd, that was it, game over.
Harland with 2 in the first half. Trossard gave Brighton hope. De Bruyne finished it off. Manchester City 3, Brighton 1.
Everton's game against Crystal Palace has finished. Everton 3, Crystal Palace 0, but we're still playing in the Championship at Loftus Road. Queen's Park Rangers, Wigan, Flo Pollock.
And there is the full-time whistle as you come to me, Steve. QPR have got all 3 points. They've beaten Wigan by 2-1 to stay top of the Championship. Full-time, QPR 2, Wigan 1.
Blackburn Rovers 2nd in the league then after that. Their result against Birmingham City, Aaron Paul.
Yeah, Blackburn 2, Birmingham 1. Sam Gallagher opened the scoring after Tak Chong hit the post early on for Birmingham. Adam Wharton's cracking solo strike made it 2 before the break and laid foundations for the victory, but then Birmingham decided they wanted to play as Thomas Kaminski made saves to keep out Bakuna and Hogan before Hogan finally converted to pull one back. Lukas Jukovic thought he'd levelled, but Kaminski kept his header out and Blackburn cling on for the win to make it 3 wins on the bounce, 5 here at Ewood Park. Blackburn 2, Birmingham 1.
What a game at Bramall Lane this afternoon, Lee Blakeman.
Steve, brilliant at Bramall Lane again. 2-2 it's finished between Sheffield United and Norwich. 2 from Pookie put Norwich 2 up at the break. Osborne and McBurney brought United level. Pookie missed a penalty in the closing minutes to win it and seal his hat-trick. Both teams had multiple chances to get a winner, but their runs without wins continue. 6 games for United, 5 for Norwich. 2-2 it's finished.
Sheffield United's comeback was good to put them 4th in the table, but Burnley's has been absolutely sensational. Full time at the Stadium of Light, Shojo Saka.
It is just finished. Sunderland 2, Burnley 4. Burnley's first win here since 1979. They were 2-0 down at half-time, but second half goals from Teller, Benson, Zerori and Brownhill got the job done for them. Burnley showing real character to come back, now unbeaten in 13 in the league. Sunderland just ran out of gas. Sunderland 2, Burnley 4.
So QPR top on 30 points. Blackburn also have 30. Burnley 3rd on 29. Then Sheffield United 4th on 26. On the